Chapter 54:61. With the silver creature dead, Lin Feng could finally breathe a sigh of relief. It was hard to determine the silver creature's exact cultivation level, but its combat power was equivalent to a Saint Realm expert. Thus, the silver creature's source energy was very useful to Lin Feng. It could increase Lin Feng's cultivation level. Lin Feng shattered the silver creature's body with a single palm strike. Then, he refined the essence of the blood mist into the purest origin energy. Now was not the time to devour the source energy. Lin Feng put away the silver creature's source energy. The Taotai returned to its human form. Lin Feng looked at the beautiful woman standing in the distance and said, "It's not good to stay here for long. You should leave quickly." After saying that, he and the Taotai headed deeper into the forest. When the woman saw Lin Feng and the Taotai leave, she hurriedly chased after them. When Lin Feng saw her, he asked, "Why are you following us?" The woman replied, "I still haven't thanked the two of you for saving my life." Lin Feng said, "There's no need to thank me. If you value your life, then quickly leave this place or find a place to hide. You can leave tomorrow as well." The woman said, "I have something I'd like to ask the two of you to help me with." "No, we have our own matters to attend to. We don't have time to help you." Lin Feng immediately refused the woman's offer. Finding the savage senior was the most important thing right now. Lin Feng did not want to care about anything else, nor did he have the ability to do so. They had met by chance, so saving this woman was already the most benevolent thing he could do. As for helping this woman with other matters, Lin Feng was not a saint, so he did not have the time. The woman said, "If the two of you are willing to help me, I can give each of you a teleportation stone." "A teleportation stone? You have a teleportation stone on you?" Lin Feng's eyes lit up. A teleportation stone was needed to head to the ancient battlefield. However, a teleportation stone was something that countless cultivators yearned for. It was destined to be a distant dream. Wanting to find such an item, it was too difficult. Previously, Lin Feng was still worrying about how to find the teleportation stone. Yet he was given such an opportunity. "Of course I do. As long as young master is willing to help me, then I'll give the teleportation stone to you." The beautiful woman said. Lin Feng asked, "Aren't you afraid that we'll kill you and steal the teleportation stone?" "Young master wouldn't do that. If you wanted to do that, you wouldn't have saved me." The beautiful woman said, "Don't think that you're a good judge of character. I saved you because I didn't know you had a teleportation stone. Now that I know, the situation is different, and my position is different. Naturally, the way I deal with this is different." Lin Feng said. The beautiful woman replied, "Even if you say that, I still believe that you're a good person." "Are you a good person?" "I'm not, because I'm a demon king. This place is desolate, and I like beautiful women." Speaking of which, Lin Feng didn't continue. Instead, he looked at the beautiful woman. It was a gaze that harbored ill intentions. Being stared at by Lin Feng, the beautiful woman had a strange feeling in her heart. She didn't avoid Lin Feng's gaze, but instead walked up to him and said, "I don't believe that young master is that kind of person." "All right, I'll give it to you. Tell us what you need help with." Lin Feng said. The beautiful woman was overjoyed. Then she said, "It's like this. My daughter was captured by a Yin corpse. I want to ask you to help me rescue my daughter." "Your daughter was captured by a Yin corpse?" Lin Feng was surprised. Then Lin Feng thought of something. Didn't the people outside say that Dongfang Yan was captured by a Yin corpse? Could it be that this woman was Dongfang Yan's mother? Lin Feng had never seen Dongfang Yan before, so he didn't know what she looked like, but Dongfang Yan's mother was so beautiful and enchanting. Presumably, Dongfang Yan was also extremely enchanting, right? My daughter is Dongfang Yan. You must have heard of her, right? The beautiful woman said. Lin Feng couldn't help but think in his heart. Sure enough, it was as he had guessed. This beautiful woman was Dongfang Yan's mother. Lin Feng said, How long has it been since Dongfang Yan was captured? Are you sure she's still alive? The beautiful woman took out an ancient bronze lamp. The flame of the ancient bronze lamp was still burning. This is Yin, Er's primordial spirit lamp. The beautiful woman said. Some large forces would often refine primordial spirit lamps for important members of the clan. As the saying goes, a person's death is like a lamp going out. If Dongfang Yan died, then her primordial spirit lamp would go out. Now, Dongfang Yan's primordial spirit was not extinguished. This meant that Dongfang Yan was still alive. Let's find a place to rest first, then we can talk about this in detail. Lin Feng said. The beautiful woman kept Dongfang Yan's primordial spirit lamp. Then she followed Lin Feng and Tao Tai and quickly rushed forward. Lin Feng found a hidden cave. The three of them entered the cave, and then Lin Feng used a restriction to seal the cave. Lin Feng said, This place is so big, and danger lurks everywhere. It won't be easy to find someone, and if we search blindly, it will be very dangerous. Do you have anything on you that can sense Dongfang Yan's location? I am connected to her by blood, so I can vaguely sense her location. The beautiful woman said. Hearing this, Lin Feng was slightly surprised, then nodded and said, All right, since that's the case, rest well today. We'll leave tomorrow, but you need to give us the teleportation stone first. Yes, the beautiful woman replied. Then he took out 2 stones. It was a very special kind of stone. It was completely purple. It emitted a faint energy. That energy was somewhat warm. Obviously, that stone was the teleportation stone. Seeing the teleportation stone, Lin Feng's eyes couldn't help but light up. The beautiful woman handed the teleportation stone to Lin Feng. Lin Feng originally wanted to give one to Tao Tai. Tao Tai said, You can keep these 2 teleportation stones. Lin Feng nodded. One or a few teleportation stones were actually useless. One needed to gather dozens of teleportation stones to construct a teleportation array. At that time, the teleportation array could send cultivators to the ancient battlefield. Lin Feng and Tao Tai had always been together, so it was the same reason that the teleportation stone was with Lin Feng. After Lin Feng put away the teleportation stone, he smiled at the beautiful woman and asked, Do you have any more teleportation stones on you? The beautiful woman said, I only have 2, and I've already given them to you. The beautiful woman came from a top force. Thus, Lin Feng felt that the beautiful woman might know a lot of things that he didn't know. For example, some things about the teleportation stone. Lin Feng looked at the beautiful woman and continued to ask, Do you know how to obtain a teleportation stone? Genius 1 second. Remember this site address. Mobile version reading website. Chapter 5462. The beautiful woman said, I heard that teleportation stones are dug out from some mines and the production rate is extremely low. Even after many years, one might not be able to dig out a teleportation stone, so it's not realistic to go to some mines to look for teleportation stones. And the teleportation stones that are dug out are basically passed down to the top forces. The 2 teleportation stones that I obtained before were given to Yen by the higher-ups, and then Yen gave them to me. But if you really want to sell them, they will be sold at an unimaginable price. But if you want to buy them, you don't have the channels to buy them, because even if someone sells them, they will be cut off by those big forces. Ordinary people can't even think about it. The beautiful woman's words were quite reasonable. Lin Feng nodded. He was not in a hurry to collect the teleportation stones now. He had to solve the urgent matters first. The first was to help the beautiful woman rescue Dongfang, Yan, The second was to find the whereabouts of Senior Savage. He hoped that everything would go smoothly. Lin Feng immediately closed his eyes and began to recover his body. The beautiful woman was right beside Lin Feng. Lin Feng could even smell the fragrance of the beautiful woman's body. Although the beautiful woman was very good, although she had a great attraction, but Lin Feng did not have any thoughts. He did not want to destroy someone else's family. The beautiful woman secretly glanced at Lin Feng. When she found that Lin Feng was adjusting his body, she felt a sense of loss for no reason. Where did this sense of loss come from? The beautiful woman did not understand. Seeing that Lin Feng did not intend to pay attention to her anymore, the beautiful woman also collected her thoughts. Then she sat down cross-legged, silently circulating her cultivation technique and adjusting her body. The latter half of the night was actually not calm. Perhaps it was because the fluctuations of the previous battle had attracted the attention of some terrifying creatures. So many terrifying creatures appeared in this area. Those terrifying creatures were looking for the whereabouts of Lin Feng and the others. But fortunately, Lin Feng's restriction was strong enough to hide from all the creatures. The next day, the three of them set off. The beautiful woman led Lin Feng and Tao Tai into the depths of the forest by relying on her bloodline. Lin Feng observed the restrictions around him. If they encountered a restriction, they would remind everyone to avoid it. Tao Tai, on the other hand, was observing the surroundings to see if any powerful creatures had appeared. During the day, there were fewer living beings coming out. However, it wasn't that there weren't any. That was an extremely dangerous thing to do. He had no choice but to be cautious. Along the way, Lin Feng and the other two were quite lucky, although he did encounter some dangers. But in the end, the danger was averted. They successfully arrived at the area where the great tomb was located. There was a pond not far from the tomb. The great necropolis was located in a valley. The valley is like a cage, and the black water is like an evil spirit. No wonder this tomb gave birth to such terrifying corpses. This kind of terrain is not suitable for burial. Lin Feng couldn't help muttering to himself. The beautiful woman looked at Lin Feng in astonishment and asked, "Young master, you know geomancy?" Lin Feng said, "I've studied it a little." "Young master is really knowledgeable," the beautiful woman said. "Don't praise me, I'll be proud." Lin Feng said. If it wasn't for the fact that she was worried about Dongfang Yan, the beautiful woman would have been amused by Lin Feng's appearance. They arrived outside the great tomb. The great tomb had already split open. Below, it was pitch black. It was so dark that one couldn't even see their fingers. What kind of situation was it? Lin Feng and the other two didn't know either, but it was definitely extremely dangerous. Lin Feng and the other two carefully flew down. A sinister and terrifying aura surged up from the depths. Not long after, Lin Feng smelled a strong smell of blood. He didn't know what was flying up at high speed. It wasn't very big. Lin Feng saw what it was. It was actually a dense group of little zombies. Those little zombies, their palm-sized bodies had wings and fangs. They were very evil. It was rumored that little zombies were formed from the blood of some powerful corpses. As for whether this rumor was true or not, Lin Feng didn't know. The dense group of little zombies quickly rushed up. The expressions of Lin Feng and the other two couldn't help but change slightly. They didn't dare to hesitate and hurriedly used their unique skills to deal with those little zombies. Lin Feng condensed an energy shield. Many little zombies surrounded Lin Feng's energy shield. They opened their mouths and bit. Tao Tai transformed into its original appearance, and many mysterious runes appeared on the surface of its body. The defensive power of those mysterious runes was astonishing, and Tao Tai used the mysterious runes to protect itself. Then one claw after another slapped at those little zombies. Many little zombies were slapped to death by Tao Tai. Lin Feng realized Tao Tai actually didn't devour the little zombies. One had to know. There seemed to be nothing in this world that Tao Tai couldn't devour. But Tao Tai didn't devour the little zombies. How much did it dislike the little zombies? That was why it wasn't willing to devour the little zombies. As for the beautiful woman, she took out a glazed pagoda. It was a defensive magic treasure. It floated above the beautiful woman and shone down a glazed light. The dense group of little zombies surrounded the beautiful woman's defensive light shield. Then they began to gnaw at the defensive light shield outside the beautiful woman. Lin Feng and Tao Tai dealt with those little zombies rather easily, especially Lin Feng. There were many little zombies gathered outside, so he directly took out the heaven flame. Instantly, many little zombies were burned alive, but the beautiful woman couldn't. The defensive light shield released by the glazed pagoda became thinner and thinner. Many places, it was about to be completely destroyed. "Help!" The beautiful woman cried out in fear. How troublesome! Lin Feng was speechless. He quickly flew towards the beautiful woman's location. A ball of heaven flame burned all the little zombies to death, and then he joined the beautiful woman. The beautiful woman was obviously frightened before, and her breathing became hurried. Seeing that Lin Feng had arrived in time, she couldn't help but reveal a grateful look. Lin Feng asked, "Are you all right?" Fortunately, young master arrived in time. The beautiful woman said, "It's good that you're fine," Lin Feng said. Then he sped up and rushed down. The little zombie group didn't seem to be deliberately targeting Lin Feng and the others. It was just that when they left the tomb, they happened to bump into Lin Feng and the other two. Therefore, the little zombie group didn't chase after Lin Feng and the other two. Instead, they quickly flew outside. Lin Feng and the other two dove down. The lower they flew, the surrounding aura became more and more sinister and terrifying. Finally, they landed at the bottom of the tomb. The surroundings were filled with black fog, and the atmosphere was also somewhat gloomy. It was as if they had arrived at the 18th level of hell. The new book, Devouring the Heavens, is very exciting. Please use your little hands to read it on QQ. Old Manta thanks everyone. Genius 1 second, remember this site address. Mobile version, reading website. Chapter 5463. The three of them walked through the bottom of the tomb. Lin Feng had been thinking about a problem. Why did the Yin corpse capture Dongfang Yen? If it wanted to eat Dongfang Yen, it could have done so directly. There was no need to capture Dongfang Yen, right? Since that was the case, that meant the Yin corpse captured Dongfang Yen. There must be another reason. As for the reason, he did not know for the time being. Lin Feng could not help but have some evil thoughts in his heart. Could it be that the Yin corpse had taken a fancy to Dongfang Yen? Damn, if that was the case, then it would really be a pity for such a peerless beauty. I can feel her aura. She is getting closer and closer to us. The beautiful woman said, "Everyone be careful." Lin Feng reminded them in a deep voice. The closer the other party was to them, the more dangerous it was for them. This was because the Yin corpse was definitely there. Lin Feng even suspected that the Yin corpse had already discovered them. After walking for 15 minutes, Lin Feng and the rest came to a main tomb chamber. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Suddenly, lights flickered around them. One ancient lamp after another. They lit up. The expressions of Lin Feng and the other two could not help but change slightly. They looked around. It was empty. There was nothing. However, they could not help but feel a chill run down their spines. In other words, they had been targeted. The Een corpse. It was watching them in the dark. Why are you hiding your head and showing your tail? Don't tell me you don't even have the courage to come out and meet me? Lin Feng said in a deep voice. Ha 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 ha. At this moment, bursts of bell-like laughter suddenly rang out. Women. It was a woman's voice. Lin Feng was very surprised. He didn't expect that. There was actually a woman's voice. Listening to this voice, it seemed to be quite pleasant. Lin Feng couldn't help but ponder. Was that woman Dongfang Yen? It shouldn't be Dongfang Yen, right? If it wasn't Dongfang Yen, then there was only one possibility. Was that woman an Een corpse? The Een corpse was a female. Lin Feng hadn't thought of this before. If it was a female corpse, then it was obvious that Dongfang Yen was not captured to be a slave. He must have other motives. What are you laughing at? Lin Feng asked. Brat, are you trying to goad me into coming out? Fat Zombie said. Bah, do you think I would use such a lowly method? You underestimate me too much. Lin Feng said. Then who are you? Sure was puzzled. I heard that your voice sounded quite nice, so I wanted to see what you looked like. Some women have nice voices and beautiful faces, such as this peerless beauty beside me. Lin Feng said. Hearing this, the beautiful woman's face turned slightly red, and then she rolled her eyes at Lin Feng. Lin Feng immediately wailed in his heart. Beauty, big sister. I was just using you as an example. You don't have to throw flirtatious glances at me, do you? As a new era woman, we have to follow the 3 obedience and 4 virtues. Lin Feng felt that the beautiful woman was an indecent person because he always felt that the beautiful woman was throwing flirtatious glances at him. From time to time, she would make some seductive actions. Endure. I will endure. Lin Feng pretended not to see it. He continued, some women only have nice voices. As for their looks, they are just that. I am the most beautiful woman in the world. If you see me, you will definitely be captivated by me. Shifeng said, I think you are the most boastful person in the world, the most beautiful woman in the world. You have the nerve to say such words. Lin Feng curled his lips and said, he naturally did not believe Shifeng's words. Who was the most beautiful woman in the world? If Lin Feng had to choose one of the many beauties he had seen, Lin Feng felt that it would be the Empress, or Lu Huaxian. Her beauty was also extremely stunning. Then I will let you see how beautiful I am, Shifeng said. Next, a woman walked out. The woman was wearing a pink dress. That dress was translucent. It was like a spring shower. Looking at her figure again, she was really quite tall and charming. Her face was exquisite and beautiful, especially her pair of watery eyes, charming and moving. Every move. She had a kind of charm that could charm the world. It's not Shifeng, it's a beautiful ghost. Be careful. The Demon Lord sent a voice transmission. After hearing the Demon Lord's voice transmission, Lin Feng's heart couldn't help but tremble slightly. Beautiful ghost. Needless to say, he knew what it was. It was the kind of ghost that specialized in seducing men and devouring their yang energy to increase their cultivation. Such ghosts were usually extremely beautiful. Otherwise, they wouldn't be called amorous ghosts. Lin Feng was still puzzled just now. He felt that this woman had an indescribable smell of prostitution on her body. So, she was a beautiful ghost. He had thought that she was a corpse. However, since she was a beautiful ghost, why did she capture Dongfang Yin? Logically speaking, a beautiful ghost should capture male cultivators to make up for it. Dongfang Yen was a woman. Could it be that this beautiful ghost was a lesbian? She liked women, damn. Could it really be like this? Lin Feng had seen lesbians before. For example, Madame Chi that Lin Feng had subdued back then. It was just a lily flower. So, some ghosts within blood were also lesbians. It seemed to be understandable. Am I beautiful? After the beautiful ghost came out, she started to flirt with Lin Feng. It had to be said, the beautiful ghost was really beautiful. Not only beautiful, that charming temperament on her body was simply crazy. She was indeed a beautiful ghost. Every move was full of seductive temperament. Even the beautiful woman beside him didn't seem to be as seductive as the beautiful ghost. Lin Feng really wanted to say, "You are so ugly," but he was too embarrassed to say it. After all, these words, it was too unconscionable. "You are very beautiful as a flower." Lin Feng replied, "Am I beautiful?" The beautiful ghost then looked at Tao Tai and asked, "Beautiful, so beautiful." Tao Tai's eyes began to become confused. However, the beautiful ghost didn't ask the beautiful woman. The beautiful woman was a woman. Moreover, the beautiful woman liked men. She wasn't a lesbian, no matter how beautiful the beautiful ghost was. It didn't have any lethality to the beautiful woman. It would probably only make the beautiful woman jealous. Come quickly. I'll serve you well," said Lin Feng. The beautiful ghost waved at Lin Feng and Tao Tai. He didn't know why. Lin Feng suddenly felt a little dizzy. Come on. He heard the beautiful ghost calling him. When Lin Feng looked over, he found that the beautiful ghost was still waving at him. Moreover, Lin Feng had a strong idea in his heart. That was to walk towards the beautiful ghost. Even if there was a mountain of fire in front of him, he had to walk towards the beautiful ghost. Obviously, the beautiful ghost's means were too powerful. Lin Feng fell for it. Not only Lin Feng fell for it. At this moment, Tao Tai, who had turned into one Shirtian, was also affected. Both of their bodies walked towards the beautiful ghost uncontrollably. Genius 1 second, remember this site, address. Mobile version, reading website, chapter 5464. Lin Feng and Tao Tai were hit. However, the beautiful woman was not hit. She was a woman. So, no matter how powerful amorous ghosts' moves were, they couldn't do anything to her. It didn't cause any charm. The beautiful woman was now very awake. Seeing Lin Feng and Tao Tai walking towards amorous ghost, she hurriedly shouted, "Hurry up and wake up." Her shout contained the power of Taoism, the power of Taoism. It could remove a lot of negative effects. So Lin Feng and the Tao Tai came back to their senses. When the two of them woke up, the two of them were so scared that they broke out in a cold sweat. It was too dangerous, just now. If they walked to amorous ghost's side, how could there be a good ending? Thank you. Lin Feng and Tao Tai hurriedly thanked the beautiful woman. "You're welcome." The beautiful woman said, "Slut, you ruined my good deed. You really deserve to die." Amorous ghost looked at the beautiful woman with cold eyes. She directly condensed a ghost claw. She grabbed towards the beautiful woman, wanting to use that ghost claw to directly destroy the beautiful woman. The aura of that ghost claw was too terrifying. The power was too strong. The beautiful woman's body was directly imprisoned. That amorous ghost was too strong. Under the situation where her body was imprisoned, the beautiful woman naturally had no way to resist the attack of the ghost claw. Death, right in front of her. The situation was dangerous, extremely bad. But at this extremely dangerous moment, Lin Feng made his move. He took out 36 bamboo swords. The 36 bamboo swords suddenly swept through the air. Bang! The ghost claw shattered. Young master, you're so bad. How can you help this woman deal with me? I'm so sad. Amorous Ghost said in a sweet voice. She had a delicate and pitiful look. Lin Feng sneered and said, Don't think about tempting me. I've learned my lesson. Your methods. It's useless to me now. Amorous Ghost said with a heartbroken look, It seems that young master has taken a fancy to that ugly woman beside you, so he doesn't want to live together with me, right? Young master's taste is truly unique. Ugly woman, the beautiful woman, trembled with anger when she heard the way Amorous Ghost addressed her, because the beautiful woman was extremely charming. But now she was actually called an ugly woman by Amorous Ghost. Which woman didn't love beauty? Which woman wouldn't want others to praise her for her beauty? Which woman would be willing to be called an ugly woman? Right now, the Amorous Ghost actually dared to humiliate a beautiful woman. Of course, the beautiful woman was very angry. Now, the beautiful woman couldn't wait to cut this beautiful ghost into 8 pieces and cut her into 1,000 pieces. However, the Amorous Ghost was too powerful. The beautiful woman was no match for the Amorous Ghost. Lin Feng sneered. He tried to use his eye of origin to observe Amorous Ghost. He wanted to see what kind of ghost this Amorous Ghost was. Lin Feng had an intuition. He felt it. Amorous Ghost looked like this now. Actually, it wasn't her original appearance, because ghosts gave people the feeling of darkness, ugliness, and fierceness. How could a ghost be so beautiful and moving? Even if Lin Feng didn't manifest his eye of origin now, he could also use the power of the eye of origin. When Lin Feng used his eye of origin to observe Amorous Ghost, his expression immediately changed slightly, because Amorous Ghost was really too ugly. Half of her face was completely rotten. The other half of her face had a few centipede-like scars. After seeing Amorous Ghost's true face, Lin Feng almost vomited. But Amorous Ghost didn't know that Lin Feng could actually see what her original appearance was. So, she was still seducing Lin Feng. Young master, come over here. Aren't I 1,000 times, 10,000 times more beautiful than that ugly monster? I'm so hot. Can you help me take off my clothes? Amorous Ghost gently fanned her hands, and she kept changing all kinds of postures to seduce Lin Feng. The beautiful woman was very angry because Amorous Ghost had just humiliated her again. Tao Tai didn't dare to look at Amorous Ghost. He was afraid that he would be tempted by Amorous Ghost like before. Lin Feng saw Amorous Ghost's true appearance. Naturally, he wouldn't be tempted by Amorous Ghost. Now that he thought about Amorous Ghost's true appearance, he still felt like vomiting. Lin Feng looked at the angry, beautiful woman and said, You don't have to be angry because of her words. Because I saw her true appearance. After hearing Lin Feng's words, Amorous Ghost's face became extremely gloomy. The beautiful woman's eyes suddenly lit up because Lin Feng's words clearly didn't dare to compliment Amorous Ghost's appearance. Otherwise, he wouldn't have said such words just now. Lin Feng said, Half of her face is rotten, and the other half is covered with centipede-like scars. I think you should know what she looks like, right? The beautiful woman hurriedly nodded. She looked at Amorous Ghost with a mocking gaze and said, You have the nerve to say that I'm ugly when you look like that? Do you have some misunderstanding about the word ugly? After being exposed by Lin Feng, Amorous Ghost was very angry. She screamed angrily, Do you think I want to be like this? I used to be very beautiful, and I was the goddess in countless people's hearts. But now I've become so ugly. I'm not willing. I want to become beautiful again. When the Amorous Ghost roared, she returned to her real appearance. After seeing her true appearance, Tao Tai felt disgusted. Tao Tai felt disgusted and said, I was actually tempted by such an ugly thing. I really want to bang my head against a wall and die. Lin Feng rolled his eyes and said, Will you die if you don't say that? If you didn't say that, I would have forgotten about this matter. Where's my daughter? The beautiful woman looked at Amorous Ghost and asked, I'm your daughter, said Lin Feng. Amorous Ghost said with a smile. Lin Feng couldn't help but frown slightly. He then thought of something, and his eyes lit up. Then he said, I know why you captured Dongfang Yan. You're really too ugly right now. You can't accept your current appearance, so you want to possess someone else. You naturally won't like women with great talent and ordinary looks. You also don't like beautiful women with ordinary talent, because it will obstruct your cultivation. Dongfang Yan is young, beautiful, and has heaven-defying talent. She's the perfect person for you to possess. Am I right? After hearing Lin Feng's words, the beautiful woman's expression suddenly changed. Lin Feng said, Don't worry, she hasn't possessed Dongfang Yan yet. Otherwise, she wouldn't look like this. Hearing this, the beautiful woman was slightly relieved. Amorous Ghost looked at Lin Feng and said, I have to say you're quite smart. But there's one thing you're wrong about. Lin Feng asked, What is it? Amorous Ghost said, I'm not trying to possess that woman. Instead, I'm using the soul transfer technique to exchange our souls with our bodies. Genius, 1 second, remember this site address. Mobile version, reading website, chapter 5465. The great soul transfer technique was simply too evil. Just think about it. After the soul and body exchange, the soul of the beautiful ghost entered Dongfang Yan's body. The beautiful ghost became Dongfang Yan, and Dongfang Yan's soul entered the beautiful ghost's body. From then on, Dongfang Yan became a beautiful ghost. It was a life worse than death. After the beautiful ghost took control of Dongfang Yan's body, she could live a normal life. You bitch, give my daughter back to me. The beautiful woman looked at the beautiful ghost with eyes full of anger. The beautiful ghost's ghost claw gently waved in the air. Suddenly, an altar appeared behind her. There was a pillar on top of the altar. A beautiful woman was tied to the pillar. That beautiful woman vaguely resembled the beautiful woman. Obviously, that beautiful woman should be Dongfang Yan. It was just that Dongfang Yan was now sealed, so she couldn't speak. When the beautiful woman saw Dongfang Yan, she immediately shouted excitedly. Dongfang Yan also saw the beautiful woman. Her body began to struggle, but she couldn't break free. What a touching scene of mother and daughter reuniting. I am a kind ghost, so I can let you mother and daughter communicate. The beautiful ghost couldn't help but say sinisterly. Then she removed a part of the restriction on Dongfang Yan's body. Dongfang Yan could immediately speak. Mother, hurry up and leave, don't worry about me. Dongfang Yan shouted loudly. Dongfang Yan knew how terrifying the beautiful ghost was. It was impossible for her mother and 2 helpers to save her. Dongfang Yan hoped that her mother could escape quickly. Perhaps she could still save her life. Don't worry. Mother will definitely save you, the beautiful woman said. Then she looked at Lin Feng and said, Young master, please take action to stall the beautiful ghost. I will go save Yan. Yes. Lin Feng nodded. He rushed towards the beautiful ghost with Tao Tai. Take someone's money, take their trouble. This principle, Lin Feng naturally understood. Lin Feng took out 36 bamboo swords and slashed towards the beautiful ghost. Lin Feng's 36 bamboo swords were specially used to restrain blood ghosts like the beautiful ghost. Swish, swish, swish. The speed of the 36 bamboo swords was too fast. In the blink of an eye, they were already in front of Amorous Ghost. Then, he charged toward Amorous Ghost. Facing the attack of the 36 bamboo swords, Gorgeous Ghost couldn't help but sneer. The nails on her claws began to turn. In the blink of an eye, unexpectedly, it had already become more than a meter long. Her 10 fingernails were her weapon. Clang, clang, clang. A series of clanging sounds could be heard. Amorous Ghost's fingernails unexpectedly swept away Lin Feng's 36 bamboo swords. He's too strong. Lin Feng's face was full of shock. One had to know. The 36 bamboo swords were extremely effective against these evil ghosts, but they were still sent flying by the beautiful ghost. This could only mean one thing, and that was Amorous Ghost's cultivation had reached an unfathomable level. She was now a sexy ghost. It was unimaginably terrifying. You dare to show off your insignificant skills. What a joke! Amorous Ghost said sinisterly. Then, she sent a palm strike towards the beautiful woman. A giant energy handprint condensed in the void. That energy handprint ruthlessly bombarded the beautiful woman's body. Wah! After taking the terrifying attack of the energy handprint, the beautiful woman directly spat out a mouthful of blood, and her body was sent flying. Although the beautiful woman's cultivation was not bad compared to Gorgeous Ghost, it was too far away. Mother! Seeing the beautiful woman fall to the ground, Dongfang Yen immediately cried out in horror. Her heart, it had sunk to the bottom of the valley, because she felt her mother. She was likely to die here. This made her very sad. After injuring the beautiful woman, Gorgeous Ghost continued to attack Lin Feng. Barrier break. Tao Tai transformed into his original appearance, and then directly rushed toward Amorous Ghost to kill her. It used its own unique skill. At the same time, under the control of Lin Feng, the 36 bamboo swords also slashed towards Gorgeous Ghost. Lin Feng and Tao Ya's cooperation was extremely tacit. When Tao Tai and Gorgeous Ghost were fighting, it was time for the 36 bamboo swords to explode. Soon, Tao Tai came to Gorgeous Ghost's side. Bang! Tao Chia's claw and Gorgeous Ghost's claw fiercely collided. It was as if two stars in the starry sky world had fiercely collided. The next moment, Tao Tai was directly sent flying. You should know, the current Tao Tai. He had broken through to the Saint Realm. Before the breakthrough, Tao Tai could already compete with some experts of the Saint Realm. The current Tao Tai, his combat strength was much stronger than before. However, he was still sent flying with one move. He was no match for Gorgeous Ghost at all. Gorgeous Ghost was really too powerful. Lin Feng's 36 bamboo swords had already come at this time. Lin Feng hoped that the 36 bamboo swords could show their great power and severely injure Gorgeous Ghost. Gorgeous Ghost's ghost claw suddenly swept. Many bamboo swords were swept away. However, 5 or 6 bamboo swords also came to Gorgeous Ghost's side. Then, they slashed towards Gorgeous Ghost's body fiercely. Puff, puff, puff. With a tearing sound, Gorgeous Ghost's body was torn apart by the bamboo swords. However, those were just a few wounds. They were not particularly serious at all. Gorgeous Ghost was really so powerful that it was almost abnormal. You hurt me. I want you dead. Gorgeous Ghost roared angrily. He was hurt by an ant in her eyes. Gorgeous Ghost couldn't accept this. Gorgeous Ghost's right hand swept across the void. Then, 5 cold lights condensed into 5 claw lights. 5 claw lights swept towards Lin Feng. After feeling the power of the claw lights, Lin Feng's expression changed greatly. He quickly activated the Dominator's armor. At the same time, he took out the Phoenix Shield. Lin Feng pushed the power of the Phoenix Shield and the Dominator's armor to the peak. However, when the 5 claw lights swept over, Lin Feng was still swept away. Lin Feng had been injured by the shock wave of the attack. Lin Feng felt as if his body was about to explode. 2 top true treasures couldn't withstand Gorgeous Ghost's attack. What level was Gorgeous Ghost at? Above the 5th or 6th level of the Saint Realm. Lin Feng felt that it was very possible. He felt bitter in his heart. He really didn't expect Gorgeous Ghost to be so terrifying. At this time, Gorgeous Ghost teleported and came to Lin Feng's side. She directly imprisoned Lin Feng's body. Her sharp claws stabbed towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng felt the aura of death enveloping his body. Not good. Lin Feng's face became pale. He couldn't use the heaven patching technique now. Was he going to die? Genius 1, second, remember this site, address. Mobile version, reading website. Chapter 5466. Crack. At this critical moment, a big hand suddenly stretched out. Then, it grabbed Amorous Ghost's wrist. After seeing this scene, Lin Feng turned his head to look. He suddenly became excited, because the one who appeared here and grabbed Amorous Ghost's wrist was actually a savage. It was really a case of wearing out iron shoes in vain. It didn't take any effort at all. Savage. He actually appeared at such a critical moment. It's you? After seeing the savage, Amorous Ghost's expression suddenly changed. She probably knew the savage. After all, before, the savage entered the group of immortal tombs and took away something, and a great battle broke out. It was normal for Amorous Ghost to know the savage. The savage forced Amorous Ghost to retreat. Amorous Ghost also did not continue to attack the savage. It was just that her expression was extremely ugly. He is the one I protect, the savage said. Hearing this, Amorous Ghost's pupils violently contracted. Then she said, I didn't expect him to have such a background. I can give you face, this kid, and the people who came with him. You can take them away, but that woman called Dongfang, Yen, you can't take her away. Lin Feng said, Senior, I accepted 2 teleportation stones from Dongfang Yan's mother, so I agreed to help her save Dongfang. Yen, Senior, please save my daughter, I beg you. The beautiful woman also begged. The savage didn't look at the beautiful woman. He didn't want to care about the life and death of people who had nothing to do with him. However, since Lin Feng said so, the savage would still take care of it. The savage said, That girl, I also want to take her away. The beautiful woman wept with joy. Dongfang Yan also became extremely excited. Savage, too powerful. If the savage made a move, she might really be saved. Don't go too far. Amorous Ghost said coldly. It's not too much. The savage's answer was very simple. You should test the consequences. Amorous Ghost said coldly. Even your father doesn't dare to speak like this in front of me. Who do you think you are to dare to say such words in front of me? If it wasn't for your father's face, I would have already beaten you to death when you attacked my guardian. Savage said coldly. Hee, Brother Savage, you're really impressive. At this moment, a strange laugh was heard. Next, a living being walked out of the darkness. That living being was a skeleton. However, he was wearing an imperial robe and a crown. He was dressed like an emperor, but after seeing this existence, Lin Feng felt an unprecedented sense of danger. This existence, it was absolutely terrifying. After all, even Amorous Ghost was so powerful. What about Amorous Ghost's father? Who would have thought she actually had a father? It seemed that Amorous Ghost's background was really extraordinary when she was alive. Brother Gui Sha, why speak in such an eccentric manner? Savage said with an indifferent expression, This is the ancient tomb of the immortals. The being that the barbarians called Ghost Fiend said, "Of course I know." Savage said, "The master hasn't woken up yet, but that's not a reason for you to behave so atrociously here." Guisha said, "There's another exalt." Lin Feng suddenly felt a headache coming on. This place, was it so dangerous? It was really terrifying beyond imagination. "I'm not afraid even if he wakes up," Savage said. Guisha's eyes suddenly focused and said, "I heard that your 6 paths of reincarnation is unparalleled in the world. When I was alive, I didn't experience the power of the 6 paths of reincarnation. Now that I've returned, I want to experience the power of the 6 paths of reincarnation." "Sure," Savage said. Ghost fog covers the sky. Suddenly, Guisha coldly shouted. He directly launched an attack on the savage. Boundless ghost chi seemed to cover the sky and the sun. The ghostly aura shrouded the barbarians. When he felt those ghost chi, Lin Feng felt that his body and consciousness seemed to be about to fall into endless darkness in an instant. Guisha's attack was really too terrifying. It made one's heart tremble. It made one feel terrified. But at this time, Savage walked step by step towards Guisha. Those ghost chi, it actually began to dissipate quickly. Ghost exterminating the world. Guisha coldly shouted. It directly turned into a heavenly law embodiment. Then it pounced on the savage. 6 paths of reincarnation. The savage's voice was indifferent. When the savage's voice fell, Lin Feng saw that the savage had actually disappeared. In the void, 6 huge black holes appeared. Every black hole, they were all distorting the void. Those 6 black holes, it seemed to represent the 6 paths. The 6 paths of reincarnation was a sacred art. At different levels, the power, shape, and so on were all different. What level had the savage cultivated the 6 paths of reincarnation to? Lin Feng wasn't particularly clear. But Lin Feng felt the 6 paths of reincarnation must have been cultivated to an extremely profound level by the savage. 6 black holes. It seemed to be able to suppress the heavens. It seemed to be able to destroy the universe. It seemed to be able to destroy the era. This was the 6 paths of reincarnation. The world could be destroyed. The era could be destroyed. But the Tao would not be destroyed. Tao, it was eternal. The 6 black holes rushed towards the heavenly law embodiment that Guisha had transformed into. At this moment, everyone's gaze, they were all looking at the 2 people who were fighting. No one knew. What would the result of this battle be? Lin Feng and the others naturally hoped that the savage would win. An amorous ghost hoped that her father would win. Bang! The 2 sides fiercely collided. Everyone saw Guisha's heavenly law embodiment. It was actually broken by the savage's 6 paths of reincarnation. The heavenly law embodiment that Guisha had transformed into was beaten back to its original form. Guisha himself was even forced to retreat. His face was pale. Guisha's gaze was as gloomy as it could be. The savage did not continue to attack Guisha. The 6 black holes once again transformed into the savage's appearance. The savage said, "Brother Guisha, the outcome has been decided. Do you have anything else to say?" Guisha said, "All right, you win." Immediately, Guisha waved his sleeve. It wrapped around Amorous Ghost. Then it quickly disappeared. "Hurry up and save her. Let's quickly leave this place." The savage said. Lin Feng nodded. He quickly flew above the altar, cut the chains, and released Dongfang Yan's seal. It was just that Dongfang Yan's body was relatively weak. She directly fell into Lin Feng's arms. "Fairy Dongfang, are you all right?" Lin Feng asked with concern. "Thank you for saving me, young master. My body is very weak now. Please help me." Dongfang Yan said with a red face. Lin Feng nodded, his left hand holding Dongfang Yen. The beautiful woman struggled to get up. However, her body was injured and her body was weak. She could not help take care of Dongfang Yen, so she could only let Lin Feng hold Dongfang Yen. The few of them did not stop and quickly flew upwards. Genius 1, second, remember this site, address. Mobile version, reading website. Chapter 5467. After Lin Feng and the others came out of the great tomb, the savage took everyone and quickly flew outside. The savage was probably afraid of the master that Gue Sha had mentioned, so he wanted to leave quickly. If it was the savage himself, he might not be afraid of the master. But if he took them with him, he would have to be afraid of the master. Who knew? What would the master do to them? Caution is the parent of safety. This sentence was very reasonable. Fortunately, Lin Feng and the others smoothly left the ancient tomb of immortals. Congratulations on escaping, Fairy. Lin Feng said with a smile. Thank you, young master. Thank you, young master's friend. Thank you, senior. Dongfang Yen thanked the three of them. The savage did not seem to hear, and his expression was somewhat dull. The Tao Tai said with a smile, if you really want to thank us, then give us a few more teleportation stones. Dongfang Yen said with a bitter smile, I really don't have a teleportation stone on me. This kind of thing is quite rare, and even I would find it difficult to get one. Lin Feng said, this guy is joking with you. We've already accepted your mother's teleportation stone. Then Lin Feng continued, how's your recovery going, celestial girl? After hearing Lin Feng's question, only then did Dongfang Yen realize that she was still half leaning in Lin Feng's arms. This hug was really warm. Dongfang Yen blushed and said, thank you, young master, for bringing me here. I can move now. Lin Feng nodded and let go of Dongfang Yen. He said, the two of you, let's part here. If fate wills it, we'll meet again. Then Lin Feng, the savage, and the Tao Tai left together. Looking at Lin Feng's back as he left, the mother and daughter both had a feeling of disappointment and loss. Dongfang Yen said, Mother, who do you think that young master is? How could he have such a powerful protector? The beautiful woman said, I'm not too sure. His identity is too mysterious. He's like a mystery. The beautiful woman's eyes were somewhat blurred, but soon he recovered his mind and said, let's go, let's meet up with our clansmen, and then quickly leave this place. I secretly entered the group of immortal ancient tomb. Now they must be looking for me everywhere. Lin Feng and the other two came to a place called the City of Immortals. This was an ancient city relatively close to the ancient tomb of the immortals. People came and went, and it was very lively. Lin Feng and the other two found a courtyard and rented it. Tao Tai did not disturb Lin Feng and the savage. She went back to her room to rest. Lin Feng and the savage sat down in the living room. Senior, I heard that you were injured. How are you feeling now? Lin Feng asked. The savage replied, it's fine now. Then he said, your cultivation progress is not bad, much faster than I expected. Moreover, I didn't expect you to enter the time reversal world. In truth, even if you didn't come in when I went out and saw you, I would have sent you here to quickly increase your cultivation, because we don't have much time left. Lin Feng's expression changed slightly, and he said, Senior, are you saying that the Armageddon War is coming? The savage nodded and said, soon. I can feel it. That day is not far away. However, I'm not particularly clear about the specific time. It depends on what the master of the mastermind's world is like. Lin Feng smiled bitterly. It was indeed too urgent. Lin Feng asked, if the Armageddon War comes, does the myriad worlds have the power to resist it? The savage replied, There are some who can resist it. However, it will be very difficult to resist it. Nothing is certain, but perhaps there's still a chance. The savage then said, "You shouldn't be thinking about these things for now. What you should be thinking about is increasing your cultivation. I have some things left behind by your ancestor, Lin Chi. It's time to give them to you." Hearing this, Lin Feng became excited. Ancestor Lin Chi was an existence that had dominated the world. How powerful was he? Lin Feng didn't know. The only thing he knew was that Ancestor Lin Chi was absolutely heaven-defying, and he might have even surpassed the Saint Realm. Such a powerful existence. The things he had left behind, they were definitely extraordinary. The savage took out the items. There were 3 in total. The first item, a jade tube. The second item, a piece of jade. The third item, an ancient book. These 3 items had been left behind by Ancestor Lin Chi. "Can I see what these 3 items are now?" Lin Feng asked impatiently. The savage said, "They're yours, so of course you can see them. However, I suggest that you go back to your room and see them." "All right." Lin Feng accepted the items. "I'm going back to my room. Senior, you should also go back and rest," Lin Feng said. The savage nodded. Lin Feng returned to his room. Then he took out the 3 items again. Lin Feng picked up the jade tube, and his spiritual will invaded the jade tube. Then a deep expression of shock appeared on his face. Then he revealed an expression of ecstasy again. 6 paths of reincarnation. Inside the jade tube, it actually recorded the 6 paths of reincarnation. This era, the supreme technique of the human race. 6 paths of reincarnation. It was actually recorded here. Ha 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 ha. Lin Feng laughed out loud. The 6 paths of reincarnation that he had dreamed of obtaining. Now, he had actually gotten it. Lin Feng felt that he was getting carried away. If he was getting carried away, so be it. So what? He had obtained the 6 paths of reincarnation. It was really too great. It was really too exciting. One could imagine, once he cultivated the powerful sacred art of the 6 paths of reincarnation, his own fighting strength, what kind of terrifying level would he reach? Lin Feng was excited for a long time. Only then did he calm down a little. He then looked at the second item. It was that piece of jade. Lin Feng didn't know what was so special about that piece of jade. His divine sense invaded the jade stone. Lin Feng tried to see if he could sense any special content. Boom! When Lin Feng's godly awareness connected with the jade stone, he was astonished. Suddenly, the world spun. Lin Feng felt as if he had been pulled into a mysterious world. This world, it emitted an ancient and immortal aura. Where is this? Lin Feng was puzzled. This is a memory world that I left behind. At this moment, a voice sounded. Lin Feng turned around and saw a cultivator in the distance. He was surrounded by holy lights, walking towards him step by step. "Are you Ancestor Lin Chi?" After seeing that cultivator, Lin Feng asked excitedly. Genius 1 second, remember this site address. Mobile version reading website. Chapter 5468. The man said, "Yes, I'm your ancestor, Lin Chi. What's your name?" "Lin Feng." Lin Chi smiled. "Lin Feng, you must be very curious as to why I left behind such a world, right?" "Yes." Lin Feng nodded. Lin Chi continued. "Actually, there are many things I wanted to tell you, but since you haven't broken through to the Saint Realm, there are some things that I can't tell you." Lin Feng was speechless. "Of course, even if I don't tell you, you'll slowly find out." Lin Chi continued. Lin Feng's face was covered with tears. It was all because of his low cultivation. If he had broken through to the Saint Realm, he would have found out many secrets today. However, there were no ifs in this world. Lin Chi continued. Today, I'm going to tell you something very important. Lin Feng didn't interrupt. He listened carefully. You should know that my lineage used to belong to the Undying clan, but I left. Lin Chi said. I know. Lin Feng nodded. Lin Feng knew about the grudge between Lin Chi and the Undying clan. Lin Feng even thought that Lin Chi would destroy the Undying clan after he became strong. However, Lin Chi didn't do that. Lin Feng was very curious as to why Lin Chi didn't do that. Lin Chi seemed to know what Lin Feng was thinking. He said, I know you have many doubts in your heart. Actually, it's normal for you to have these doubts. The Undying clan is very special. Back in my era, the Undying Seven Saints were in charge of the Undying clan. I think you should know that the Undying clan is also a clan that has crossed eras, and it's one of the few clans that has solved the problem of declining cultivation. The drop in cultivation base that Lin Chi mentioned referred to those who crossed epochs. When crossing epochs, their cultivation base was at its strongest. With the passage of time, his cultivation would continue to fall. Lin Feng understood this. Generally speaking, it was very difficult to solve this problem. The Undying clan solved this problem, which was why the Undying clan was so powerful. It was so terrifying. Lin Chi continued, the seven Undying Saints, they were the experts of this era. The Undying clan has a few old antiques that have crossed more than one epoch. They haven't appeared yet. Even though I don't fear them, I don't wish for both sides to suffer. Apart from that, the Immortal clan has a way to baptize the immortal blood. That method is in the hands of a few old people. If you want to reach the peak of the immortal blood, you have to go through a baptism. Therefore, I took a step back and gave my descendants the opportunity to baptize their blood. Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat, and he asked, Ancestor, are you saying that I can also go there to undergo the baptism? Yes, Lin Chi said, but I am now opposing the Undying clan. Earlier, I overturned a branch of the Undying clan. Lin Feng said, It's all right. The main branch isn't the same as the branches. Besides, the branches might not have any connection with the main branch. Lin Chi said. After some thought, he continued, Take the jade pendant and go to the Undying clan. Then you can undergo the baptism. Where is the main branch of the Undying clan? Lin Feng asked curiously. The Undying world, Lin Chi said. Lin Feng shook his head. I heard that they left the Undying world a long time ago. Lin Chi thought for a moment, then said, The Undying world was created by a few old people who crossed epochs. Therefore, the Undying clan took root there. Since they left the Undying world, they might have gone to their ancestral land. Where is the ancestral land? Lin Feng asked. The chaotic Xianhuang world. Lin Chi said. Lin Feng had already been to hell, one of the three worlds. The celestial world was the chaotic Xianhuang world. Lin Feng had never been there. Lin Feng didn't know what kind of world it was, especially the chaotic Xianhuang world. It was too mysterious. The world's understanding of it was very limited. Lin Feng asked, How do I go to the chaotic Xianhuang world? Perhaps you need to enter from the wasteland, Lin Chi said. After pausing for a moment, he continued, As for where to enter the wasteland, every era has a different method of entering. Wait until you enter the wasteland in the future, then you can find out. Okay, Lin Feng nodded. Lin Chi said, That's all I have to tell you. As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Chi's body began to turn illusory. Ancestor, I still have something to ask you. Seeing that Lin Chi was about to disappear, Lin Feng hurriedly said, Speak. Lin Chi said, Ancestor, are you still alive? Lin Feng asked. Lin Chi smiled and said, "Take a guess." Immediately, Lin Chi vanished into thin air. Lin Feng smiled bitterly. "Can you not be so naughty? Let me guess." "How can I guess?" Lin Feng really didn't expect ancestor Lin Chi to have such a funny personality. Swoosh. Light flashed. Lin Feng hurriedly flew out of that world. He came to the outside world. Lin Feng looked at the jade stone in his hand. He kept the jade stone in the time-space. This thing was too important. In the future, when he went to the Undying clan's main branch to undergo the sacred blood baptism, he would have to rely on this thing. Then, Lin Feng looked at the third thing. It was the wordless heavenly book. There really wasn't a word on it. There wasn't even a word on the cover. The surface was pitch black. Inside was a dark yellow paper. There were a total of 3 papers. Lin Feng studied it for a long time, but he couldn't find anything. What the hell was this thing? He had forgotten to ask ancestor Lin Chi. What a blunder. Demon Lord, do you know what this wordless heavenly book is? Asked Lin Feng telepathically. The Demon Lord glanced at it and pondered. After a long time, he seemed to have thought of something. Then he said, "It seems to be an item from the legends, but I haven't seen it before, so I can't be sure." "What is it?" Lin Feng asked curiously. "A universe map," the Demon Lord said. "A universe map? What's that?" Lin Feng asked. The Demon Lord said, "You already know about the 4 universes. It seems that it's impossible to safely travel between the 4 universes, and the only way is through the universe rifts. But the universe rifts are too dangerous, and almost all saints who enter them die. But it's said that when the 4 universes were formed, there was a universe gate between the universes. The universe gate connects to different universes. Once you find the universe gate, you can safely travel between the universes. Genius 1 second memorize this site's address. Chapter 5469. Will the other universes be destroyed? Lin Feng asked. Lin Feng had a bold idea. If the other universes were not destroyed, then if he found those universe gates, once this era was destroyed, was it possible to send her out? Send them to the other 3 universes? If he could do that, that would be great. As for the wasteland, that place was too dangerous, and it was very repulsive of outsiders. It was fine for a small number of top experts to enter if he dared to bring his family over. At that time, he would definitely be attacked by a group. He might die miserably. I haven't been to the other universes, so I don't know the situation there. The Demon Lord said. Lin Feng nodded. Then he said, "The universe map doesn't show the map. Could it be that some special methods are needed to activate it?" The Demon Lord said, "It should be so. Now, we can only take 1 step at a time." Lin Feng nodded. Now, he could only take 1 step at a time. No matter what, he couldn't eat a fatso in 1 bite. Lin Feng put away the wordless heavenly book. Then, he took out the origin of the silver creature from before. Lin Feng planned to refine the silver creature's origin. In this way, he could improve his cultivation. Lin Feng directly swallowed the silver creature's origin, and then began to refine it. As the silver creature's origin was refined by Lin Feng's body, Lin Feng's realm began to rise again. But this time, it only rose to the 8th layer of the sky immortal realm. It rose by 1 level. Even so, Lin Feng was still very happy. After coming out of seclusion, the savage came to find Lin Feng. "I'll take you to a place to temper your cultivation. I hope you can quickly break through to the true immortal realm, because I have some matters to attend to. I won't be able to stay here for too long, but I'll leave after you break through to the true immortal realm." "Okay," Lin Feng said. Savage, Lin Feng, and Tao Tai also didn't stay in the ancient city for long. Lin Feng didn't ask where the savage was taking him. because Lin Feng knew that no matter where he went, the barbarians would do it for his own good. The barbarians would not harm themselves. Savage led the way in front. He kept increasing his speed, as if he wanted to train Lin Feng. Lin Feng was especially good at speed, and at the beginning, he was able to follow with ease. However, as time went by, Lin Feng felt himself slowing down. Actually, it wasn't that he had slowed down. It was the barbarian who had sped up. Lin Feng pushed his speed to the limit and traveled through the forest, quickly chasing after the barbarians. Perverts! They're all perverts! Although Tao Tai was already chasing at full speed, he still couldn't catch up with the savage and Lin Feng. And then this guy shouted gloomily. 2 hours later, Tao Tai finally saw the whereabouts of Lin Feng and the savages. Savage was standing in the forest. Lin Feng was lying on the ground, panting heavily. Tired. Really tired. Lin Feng didn't want to move at all. He had never been so tired before. It was even more tiring than a life and death battle. Tao Tai caught up, panting heavily. He said, "Senior, there's no need to risk your life like this, right? Flying is the most economical, most labor-saving, and most effective method of cultivation." Savage said. Actually, what the savage said was very reasonable. Flying at full speed. His whole body moved. The consumption was huge. When the body recovered, it would stimulate the body's potential. "I don't want to save money. I don't lack money," Tao Tai began to mutter. "I still prefer a comfortable method of cultivation." Lin Feng thought, "What's this? When we reach our destination, we'll know how scary it is. At that time, who knows what we'll have to go through." Of course, Lin Feng didn't say this out loud. What if he scared Tao Tai away? How painful would it be for him to bear such an inhuman cultivation alone? Someone beside him would be unlucky. He felt a little better. Someone's coming. Suddenly, Savage couldn't help but frown slightly. There's no one. Tao Tai looked around, but he didn't see anything. Moreover, his perception was very strong. He couldn't sense anything from a very far distance. "They'll be here soon," Savage said. "Do you want to leave?" Lin Feng stood up and said, "I can't leave." Savage said. Lin Feng's heart couldn't help but tremble slightly. Savage actually said that he couldn't leave. Savage was so strong. He actually said that he couldn't leave. How terrifying was the person who came? Who came? Savage's enemy. Lin Feng's expression couldn't help but become ugly. Not long after, Lin Feng saw it. The blood clouds in the distance churned. In the blood clouds, there seemed to be an unknown existence hibernating. Although Lin Feng didn't see where that terrifying existence was for the time being, but Lin Feng knew, inside the blood clouds, there must be such an existence. "Senior, who is the existence in the blood clouds?" Lin Feng asked. "The Lord of the immortal ancient tomb." Savage said. Lin Feng suddenly thought of what Guisha said. The Lord of the immortal ancient tomb hadn't woken up at that time. Now that he woke up, did he come here specifically for them? F*CK, that's a freakish existence. "Senior, can you beat that guy? If you can't, let's run away," Tao Tai said. The savage simply ignored this fellow Tao Tai. "Savage, when you broke into the immortal ancient tomb, you took away an extremely important thing. Did I make things difficult for you?" A voice came from the blood mist. "No," Savage said. Then Savage added, "Because you were sleeping." Hearing the first sentence, Lin Feng and Tao Tai felt that it was a normal answer. But the last sentence was really a godly one. Lin Feng and Tao Tai. He almost fell head first onto the ground. Was this a slap in the face? Lin Feng found that Savage's level of face slapping was really superb. The Lord of the immortal ancient tomb was obviously angry. He said coldly, I heard Gui Sha say that you are looking down on me. I am not, Savage said. Lin Feng and Tao Tai let out a long breath. Fortunately, they didn't say anything scary. The Lord of the Immortal Ancient Tomb's face couldn't help but look better. At this time, Savage said, I'm just not afraid of you. Damn, is this a provocation? Tao Tai was speechless, and then hit his head on a stone. What are you doing? Are you hurting yourself? Lin Feng said. The Lord of the Immortal Ancient Tomb is definitely going to die from anger. I tell you, the Lord of the Immortal Ancient Tomb is an existence that no one can provoke. We are definitely finished. I might as well just kill myself. Tao Tai said. Savage. Very good. You are very good. I didn't expect you to be such an arrogant person. The Lord of the Immortal Ancient Tomb said, angrily. His voice contained monstrous killing intent. Please remember the domain name of this book, mobile version of reading website. Chapter 5470. The Savage said, I'm just talking seriously. How can I be so arrogant? People always look at others with colored glasses. Tao Tai roared from the side. My ancestor, you're still not arrogant? Look at how angry the Lord of the group of Immortal Ancient Tomb is. However, Tao Tai didn't say these words in the end. Today, I must teach you a lesson. Otherwise, in the future, everyone will think that my group of Immortal Ancient Tomb is easy to bully. The Lord of the group of Immortal Ancient Tomb coldly said. The Savage said, you can't represent the group of Immortal Ancient Tomb. The ones who really represent the group of Immortal Ancient Tomb are the unknown existences in the depths. Preposterous. The Lord of the group of Immortal Ancient Tomb was really angry because such a terrifying existence like him was about to be degraded by the Savage. It was really intolerable. I'll let you have a taste of my lost art. The Lord of the group of Immortal Ancient Tomb said coldly. A terrifying aura filled the air. Obviously, he had already begun to prepare his supreme divine ability. The Savage sneered without fear. He also began to prepare his divine ability. He wanted to fight against the Lord of the group of Immortal Ancient Tomb. At this time, above the blood cloud, the void split open, and a small beast flew out. Fuck your sister. You dare to throw Lousy out, Lousy will draw a circle and curse your whole family. That little beast looked very angry. When he saw the little beast, Lin Feng had a feeling of incomparable astonishment, because that little beast, he had seen it before. It was a snow-white little beast wearing a straw hat on its head, and it also wore black sunglasses. Its round body looked quite cute. Lord Tua. Isn't this Lord Tua? Lin Feng, the cursed doll, and Lung Zi, she went to the sea god ancient city together. They saw this guy, Lord Tua. At that time, Lin Feng and the others were targeted by a cursed creature, and they couldn't compete with that cursed creature at all. Lord Tua suddenly appeared. Of course, he was just passing by. He didn't want to provoke that cursed creature, but that cursed creature didn't want to let Lord Tua go. That cursed creature wanted to eat Lord Tua, but it was slapped to death by Lord Tua. Lord Tuo's strength was extremely tyrannical. Lung Zishi had said before that Lord Tue might be related to the wasteland. Lin Feng wasn't very clear about Lord Tuo's specific background, but he was sure that his background must be frightening. What is it? Seeing Lord Tua appear above his head, the gaze of the Lord of the Ancient Tomb suddenly turned gloomy. A living being had actually appeared above him. It was as if he was being trampled under his feet. How could the Lord of the Ancient Tomb accept this kind of thing? Therefore, the master of the group of immortal tombs was very angry. His eyes flickered with dense killing intent. Grandpa Tug, hurry up and come here. Lin Feng shouted. He was worried about Lord Tua. Although Lord Tua was very powerful. However, no matter how strong he was, he could not be the opponent of the Lord of the ancient immortal tomb. Right? Lord Tuo looked at Lin Feng and said, "So it's you. I didn't expect to see you again. What do you want to do with your swords drawn? Fight. It's really interesting. Lord Tuo, have just appeared here, and I can already watch a good show. I just need a stool and a plate of melon seeds." Lin Feng couldn't help but be speechless. What time was this? Lord Tuo, this guy, he didn't even notice the danger? He was still chatting over there. Could it be that Lord Tuo was so powerful that he could ignore the Lord of the ancient tomb? Lord Tuo was so strong? Thinking of this, Lin Feng couldn't help but be shocked. However, what happened next made the corner of Lin Feng's mouth twitch, because a claw stretched out from the blood cloud and then fiercely slapped Lord Tuo. Bang! That tyrannical blow fiercely slapped Lord Tuo's body and directly sent him flying. Bang! Lord Tuo's body fiercely hit a mountain peak, which directly collapsed. Lord Tuo was crushed below. He won't be slapped to death, right? Lin Feng couldn't help but wail in his heart. He couldn't help but feel sad for Lord Tuo. No matter what, Lord Tuo had indirectly saved Lin Feng before. So, Lin Feng naturally didn't want anything to happen to Lord Tuo. However, just now, Lord Tuo received a claw from the Lord of the ancient tomb. Moreover, he received a claw from the Lord of the ancient tomb when he was completely unguarded. How powerful was that claw? Lin Feng even felt that. That claw could blow up a planet. His flesh and blood body withstood that claw. Could he still live? Buzzing here, just like a fly. And now, it's finally quiet. The Lord of the ancient tomb sneered. Lin Feng flew towards the broken mountain peak. He wanted to find Lord Tuo. He wanted to see if Lord Tuo was killed. Bang! At this time, troubled times traveled through the air. Lord Tuo flew out. His originally snow-white body was now covered with dust. He really looked a bit embarrassed. Lord Tuo speechlessly said, "I'm just a spectator. Why did you hit me?" The Lord of the ancient tomb's mouth couldn't help but twitch slightly. He felt that the situation seemed to be a bit wrong. Logically speaking, that strike just now, the power was so terrifying. This guy in front of him, he should have been slapped to death by now. But he was actually fine. This didn't make sense. Could it be that this little beast was so powerful? However, the Lord of the ancient tomb still didn't put Lord Tuo in his eyes. In his opinion, even if this little beast was extraordinary, but it couldn't even avoid his attack. Compared to him, what was it? It was really a difference of 100,000 miles. Little guy, die. The Lord of the ancient tomb's voice was cold. He stretched out his claw. It headed towards Lord Tuo. A huge claw instantly arrived in front of Lord Tuo. It pointed at Lord Tuo's forehead. The Lord of the ancient tomb obviously wanted to kill Lord Tuo first, and then deal with the barbarians. If the tiger doesn't show its might, do you think I'm a sick cat? Lord Tuo was very angry. It had always been him who bullied others, but now he was being bullied. How could he endure this? When the claw was about to hit him, Grandpa Tug grabbed the claw with one hand. Then his arms suddenly exerted force. Suddenly, the Lord of the ancient tomb, who was hidden in the blood cloud, was fiercely thrown by Lord Tuo. Bang! 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 Lord Tuo was like a dead dog, fiercely smashing the Lord of the ancient tomb to the ground. Ah! The Lord of the ancient tomb let out an incomparably angry roar. He struggled violently, but no matter how he struggled, he couldn't break free. Bang! 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 Lord Tuo was still smashing the Lord of the Ancient Tomb to the ground one blow after another, as if he was smashing a dog. After seeing this scene, the corner of Lin Feng's mouth couldn't help but twitch violently. Genius 1 second, remember this site address. Mobile version, reading website. Chapter 5471. What kind of terrifying existence was the Lord of the Immortal Ancient Tomb? He was actually beaten up by Master Tuo into this appearance. Anyone who saw this scene would feel incredulous. Even the barbarians showed an extremely surprised expression. Master Tuo was really too powerful. Who are you? The Lord of the Immortal Ancient Tomb roared angrily. His eyes had turned blood red. He was now extremely angry, and his hatred was monstrous. However, even if he hated in his heart, what could he do? He could not resist Master Tuo at all. What kind of people have I not seen, but I have never seen a guy like you. Master Tuo slammed the Lord of the Immortal Ancient Tomb to the ground and coldly scolded. Bang, bang, bang. It was a complete one-sided trampling. The Lord of the Immortal Ancient Tomb now even had the heart to die. In fact, Master Tuo's attack could not hurt the body of the Lord of the Immortal Ancient Tomb. However, mental damage, it was unimaginable. It was enough to make the Lord of the Immortal Ancient Tomb almost go crazy. This kind of powerhouse paid too much attention to their face. Sometimes, ruining their reputation was more harmful than hurting their bodies. I was wrong. Spare me. The Lord of the Immortal Ancient Tomb pleaded. What did you say? I didn't hear. You clearly. Master Tuo said, Spare me. The Lord of the Immortal Ancient Tomb continued to plead. Not sincere enough. Master Tuo said, It's all my fault. Just treat me like a fart. The Lord of the Immortal Ancient Tomb said. After hearing this sentence, Lin Feng and Tao Tai could not help but roll their eyes. It seemed that the Lord of the Immortal Ancient Tomb was really forced to the point that he had no other choice. Otherwise, with his status and position, he would not have said such words. Tao Tai said, Before, this guy was so pretentious, acting like he was number one in the world, but now he has become a coward. There is a good saying, don't be pretentious, or you will be struck by lightning. Lin Feng really had no way to answer this sentence, because Lin Feng also liked to be pretentious. Lord Tuo directly threw the Lord of the Ancient Tomb to the ground. Lin Feng didn't even know what kind of existence the Master of the Ancient Tomb was, because the terrifying existence was shrouded in a bloody mist the entire time. Therefore, I don't even know what this guy looks like. The master of the group of immortal tombs did not dare to say anything. He quickly fled into the distance. He really didn't want to stay here for a second longer. His arrogance soared to the heavens as he looked disdainfully at the world. But when he left, he was in such a sorry state. It was so dramatic. Grandpa Tuo, why are you here? Lin Feng looked at Lord Tuo and asked. Lord Tuo replied, I'm just strolling around. Master Tuo rolled his eyes and meowed at the savage beside Lin Feng. However, he quickly retracted his gaze. He said, You're really something, kid. Your cultivation has improved quite quickly. Lin Feng replied, It's all right. All right, let's part ways here. I'm sure we'll meet again, if fate wills it. Lord Tuo waved his hand. Then he ran away like a wisp of smoke. After Lord Tuo left, the savage said, Let's go too. The savage didn't ask Lin Feng about Lord Tuo's identity. However, Lin Feng remembered that Lord Tuo's gaze was erratic when he looked at the savage. He didn't know if there was a deeper meaning in that gaze. Lin Feng felt that Lord Tuo, this guy, knew the savage. This feeling was very strange, but it was also so strong. Lin Feng originally wanted to ask about the savage, but in the end, Lin Feng gave up. After all, if they really knew each other, they didn't recognize each other. There must be a reason. Therefore, it was better not to ask. Half a month later, Lin Feng and Tao Tai followed the savage to the place the savage said. The place the savage spoke of was an ancient forest. The savage stood on the top of a mountain. Lin Feng and the Tao Tai were standing next to the savage. The savage pointed into the distance and said, "Do you see that? That area is called the Land of the Undead. In the depths of the Land of the Undead, there is a cave of the undead. There are many terrifying undead inside. You will be going there to cultivate." "To fight against the undead?" Lin Feng asked. "Yes." The savage nodded and said, "Your cultivation is progressing very quickly. Soon, you will break through to the true immortal realm." For cultivators, the true immortal realm is an extremely important threshold. If you can successfully break through to the true immortal realm, you will become an immortal from a mortal. From then on, you will shed your mortal body. However, because your accumulation is too strong, it's not easy to break through. Actual combat is the best way to hone your skills. A battle between life and death can often stimulate a person's potential. I hope that your potential can be completely stimulated. Lin Feng said, "I will work hard." Then he asked, "How long do I need to cultivate here?" The savage looked up and said, "Cultivate until you reach the pinnacle of the sky immortal realm." The pinnacle of the sky immortal realm referred to the peak of the sky immortal realm. If one took another step forward, it would be the quasi-true immortal realm or the true immortal realm. However, Lin Feng did not intend to break through to the quasi-true immortal realm. He intended to break through to the true immortal realm directly. The savage's meaning was very clear. He wanted Lu Sheng to stay here and fight until he reached the pinnacle of the sky immortal realm. This was the most difficult method, and also the most dangerous one. After all, no one knew whether or not they would die at the hands of the undead. The simplest way to break through was to find some opportunities, such as source energy or other precious treasures, to increase one's cultivation. However, this kind of breakthrough was difficult to stimulate one's potential. Rest for today. We'll go tomorrow, the savage said. Lin Feng nodded. At night, Lin Feng cooked a delicious meal for everyone. He had all kinds of tools, seasonings, and frozen beast meat. Other than barbecued meat, Lin Feng also made 2 stews for stir-fried dishes and 2 soups. The savage was not the kind of person who did not eat the food of mortals. On the contrary, he enjoyed the pleasure of eating delicious food. He cherished food very much. Perhaps it was related to his experience when he was young. After all, the savage's life when he was young was too hard. If Lin Chi had not taken him in, he might have frozen or starved to death outside. After eating a delicious meal, everyone found a place to rest. Lin Feng sat cross-legged. Then he began to comprehend the 6 paths of reincarnation. This was the supreme technique of the human race. Lin Feng naturally hoped that he could learn the 6 paths of reincarnation as soon as possible. This technique could definitely play a role in reversing the situation in a life and death battle. 4th update. Because I have to write the outline today, there are only 4 updates today. As for how to write the rest of the content, Old Man Two needs to think carefully. The book is at the end, so he needs to think carefully. I hope to have a more perfect ending. Genius 1 second, remember this site address. Mobile version reading website. Chapter 5472. The 6 paths of reincarnation wasn't easy to cultivate. Lin Feng had been trying to comprehend it, but to no avail. However, he didn't ask Savage. Comprehending the 6 paths of reincarnation required one to rely on oneself. The next day, Lin Feng and Tao Tai headed to the cave of the undead to cultivate. To be honest, I really don't want to cultivate in this damned place. You haven't broken through to the true immortal realm, so you have to work hard and break through. I'm different from you. I'm a sage now, an overlord. Why do I have to cultivate so hard? Isn't that just asking for trouble? Tao Tai said. Lin Feng said, what overlord? The war of destruction is coming. So what if you're a sage? Won't you still die when the time comes? Tao Tai let out a sigh. He didn't like what Lin Feng said. Although he didn't like it, he had to admit that Lin Feng's words made sense. Sage was very powerful. But in the doomsday battle, what does that count for? The world was about to be destroyed, not to mention a mere cultivator. The collapse of an era meant that countless people would die. This was something that was very difficult to reverse. Lin Feng didn't know what would happen in the future. Now, he just wanted to quickly raise his cultivation and increase his strength. At the same time, he hoped that the war of destruction would come later. After all, Lin Feng's cultivation, it was far from being able to resist the war of destruction. Lin Feng and Tao Tai arrived at the cave of the undead. A large number of undead gathered in the cave of the undead. Corpses, ghost gods, gods, evil spirits, etc. There were simply too many of them. He didn't know why this place would attract so many terrifying undead. A large number of undead charged towards Lin Feng and Tao Tai. Lin Feng used his sacred art and attacked the undead. The undead outside posed no threat to Lin Feng and Tao Tai. The truly terrifying ones were the undead in the cave of the undead. According to the savages, the cave of the dead spirits had 18 levels, and the dead spirits on each level were different. Lin Feng and Tao Tai killed their way into the depths, and finally arrived at the periphery of the cave of the dead spirits. The Tao Tai said, I heard that the reason why so many dead spirits have gathered in this place has a lot to do with the cave of the dead spirits. Obviously, there are some secrets hidden in the cave of the dead spirits. It's precisely because of those unknown secrets that so many dead spirits have been attracted here. The strangest thing is that once these dead spirits come here, they can't leave. Hearing this, Lin Feng could not help but frown slightly. He said, maybe we can go inside and see what's going on. Hee, I don't think we have that ability. Tao Tai said, have some confidence in yourself. Lin Feng said, it's said that from the 14th floor onwards, there are already dead spirits of the saint layer. I can't imagine how strong the dead spirits of the 18th floor are. Tao Tai said, there's such a thing? Lin Feng's face couldn't help but reveal a shocked and moved expression. It was indeed too terrifying. It was horrifying. Your protector might have some other purpose for letting you come here, but I don't know what that purpose is. Tao Tai said. Lin Feng pondered for a moment. No matter what the purpose was, the savages wouldn't harm him anyway. Let's go. Let's go in and take a look. Lin Feng and Tao Tai entered the cave of the dead spirits. As soon as they entered, dozens of terrifying gods let out sinister laughter and quickly pounced towards them. The aura emitted from the bodies of those gods. It was simply a hair-raising feeling. Further away, there were many evil corpses, rotten corpses, ghost immortals, and other such existences. Lin Feng and Tao Tai fought with these terrifying dead spirits. Over the next few months, Feng Qiu Lin Feng summoned the Stone Man clone, Bibi, Little Black, Little Dragon, and the others. He let them hone their cultivation here. Lin Feng's improvement was extremely obvious. This kind of progress. It wasn't an increase in realm, but the use of sacred art, the use of the Tao. There was a huge improvement. It couldn't be compared to before. In the life and death battles again and again, Lin Feng challenged the limit time and time again, and his potential was stimulated. Moreover, his 6 paths of reincarnation had also been successfully cultivated. 2 years later, many sacred arts had been upgraded to the level of perfection in countless life and death battles. Lin Feng's realm had long entered the peak of the sky, immortal realm. But he couldn't break through. Bibi and the others also gained a lot. As for the Stone Man clone, it broke through to the Saint realm, which made Lin Feng extremely happy. Tao Jie's cultivation broke through to the 2nd level of the Saint realm. Life and death battles were indeed very effective in honing one's cultivation. Lin Feng and the others killed their way to the 14th level. There were 7 corpse demons entrenched here. These corpse demons were between the 1st and 3rd heavenly layers of the Sage realm. Naturally, they were incomparably terrifying. Lin Feng's side, strictly speaking, only had 2 Saint Realm experts, Tao Tai and the Stone Man clone. As for the others, whether it was Lin Feng, Bibi, Little Black, or Xiaolong, they weren't in the Saint Realm. Although they were very strong, they still weren't a match for these corpse demons. Lin Feng and the others were defeated by the corpse demons. Originally, Lin Feng and the others wanted to escape. But at this time, Lin Feng realized that one of the treasures in the empty space and time was shaking violently. Lin Feng summoned the treasure. It was the Book of the Dead that Lin Feng had obtained in his early years. The Book of the Dead recorded many methods to summon the dead. But Lin Feng wasn't particularly interested in the methods recorded in the Book of the Dead. Yen, the god of the Book of the Dead, transmitted to Lin Feng, "Master, these dead are incomparably powerful. You can have them sign a contract with the Book of the Dead. When the time comes, they can live in the world formed by the Book of the Dead. Master can also summon them to fight against enemies." In truth, Yen had been extremely depressed these past few years. The Book of the Dead was a heaven-defying treasure, but Lin Feng didn't care much for it. This made Yen feel somewhat helpless. There was nothing he could do if Lin Feng didn't think highly of it. "Oh, the Book of the Dead has such an ability?" Lin Feng said in surprise. "Of course," Yen said. "Master, once you subdue these dead, you'll have a group of Saint Realm experts. When the time comes, you'll be invincible." "Not bad, not bad. How can I subdue these dead?" asked Lin Feng telepathically. "Subduing these dead is very simple. Master, you only need to activate the Book of the Dead. Leave the rest to me," Yen said. "No problem." Lin Feng nodded. Next, an enormous amount of magic power poured into the Book of the Dead. Genius 1 second remember this site address. Mobile version reading website. Chapter 5473. As magic power continued to pour in, the Book of the Dead's undulations became more and more intense. It was also becoming more and more terrifying. The powerful corpse demons that were pouncing towards Lin Feng and the others revealed terrified expressions when they saw the Book of the Dead. "Huh." Seeing this, Lin Feng's face lit up. The Book of the Dead was actually able to cause such a huge shock to these corpse demons. This was something that Lin Feng hadn't expected. Tao Tai said, "What treasure is this? It's actually so strange. Even these corpse demons don't care about approaching us." "This is the Book of the Dead. It's specially made to restrain these undead." Lin Feng grinned. Yan Xian appeared. Yan's aura was very terrifying. As the god of the Book of the Dead, he had recovered quite well these past few years, and his strength was increasing day by day. More importantly, he could now completely control the power of the Book of the Dead. "Dead undead, your lives have already been devoured by the darkness. There is no hope left, but my great master can grant you new life and hope. I am my master's emissary. Kneel and accept the baptism of the Book of the Dead." You will be reborn. Yan's voice rang out. If this guy was chanting an incantation, then so be it. He actually bragged to Lin Feng. What a bootlicker. Tao Tai couldn't help but smirk. Lin Feng nodded. But even though Yan was a bootlicker, Lin Feng felt quite good when he heard it. Who didn't want to hear good words? As soon as Yan finished speaking, numerous runes flew out of the Book of the Dead. Those runes flew towards the corpse demons. Roar. The corpse demons let out deep roars. Then they began to attack the runes that flew out of the Book of the Dead. The corpse demons were very powerful. Many of the runes were destroyed by the corpse demons. However, there were still some runes that came to Shermo's side and drilled into his body. Seeing this scene, Lin Feng couldn't help but raise his eyebrows slightly. He had a feeling, the key to whether or not he could suppress the corpse demons. It was on those special runes. Yan continued to unleash attacks. The runes continued to drill into Shermo's body. As time passed, a large number of runes had already accumulated in Shermo's body. Contract condensation. Yan's voice sounded again. The runes in Shermo's body were forming a contract. The so-called contract should be a master-servant contract with the Book of the Undead. Once both parties signed the contract, these saint-level corpse demons were officially subdued. It was as if he had been converted. He would never betray them again. No, we can't accept this. Some corpse demons let out deep roars. The corpse demons began to struggle, but he struggled for a long time, nor would he be able to resolve the dangerous situation he was in. As time passed, the struggle of the corpse demons became weaker and weaker. In the end, the corpse demons gave up struggling. A total of 7 saint-level corpse demons knelt on the ground. Master. The 7 corpse demons bowed to Lin Feng. Yin said, Master, I have already subdued these 7 saint-level corpse demons for you. Congratulations on having 7 more corpse demons under your command. Lin Feng smiled and said, You have contributed greatly to subduing these 7 corpse demons. Yen was overjoyed. Today's matter was his turning point. It seemed that everything was going smoothly. Yen said, Master, let me rest for a few days and recover my vitality. We can go to the 15th floor and subdue even more powerful saint-level undead. All right, Lin Feng nodded, although he didn't want to deal with undead. The reason why he didn't want to deal with undead was because these undead, such as corpse demons and rotting corpses, their bodies were rotten and emitted a foul smell. Lin Feng was naturally disgusted. If it was a corpse demon, like the evil Saint Venerable, it would be better because this type of existence wasn't so disgusting. But now was an extraordinary time. Lin Feng indeed needed to recruit more experts. If it was disgusting, then so be it. Lin Feng's mind moved, and in an instant, the 7 corpse demons were absorbed into the undead water. If he moved his mind, the 7 corpse demons could also be summoned. It was very convenient. Lin Feng put away the Book of the Undead. Then he left with Tao Tai and Bibi. They returned to the mountain where they lived. Because it was already winter, and the mountain was relatively high, the temperature was very low, so it had already begun to snow. Bibi, Blackie, and Xiaolong were playing in the snow. The Emperor Archaic, the ancestor insect, and the Devil King insect were lying on a large tree, absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. As for Savage, he had long since been covered in snow. Since a year ago, he had entered a meditative state. Lin Feng and the others didn't disturb Savage. Lin Feng was doing his best to recover his body. 5 days later, Yan recovered. Lin Feng felt that Yan's strength had become even stronger, much stronger than before. Lin Feng asked, after the Book of the Undead signed a contract with those corpse demons, will you become stronger as well? Yan said, Yes, Master. In theory, the more undead the book of the undead signs a contract with, the stronger I will become. All right, then let's go to the 15th level of the Cave of Death to take a look. Lin Feng said. Then they flew towards the Cave of the Undead. It didn't take long. They arrived inside the Cave of the Undead, because this place would summon a large number of undead every day. Therefore, during this period of time, a large number of undead had gathered in the Cave of Death. Lin Feng and the others acted and cleared away these undead. Ordinary undead were not qualified to be stored in the Book of the Undead. They continued to dive. Finally, they arrived at the 15th level of the Cave of the Undead. A large number of undead occupied this place. Many undead. Their auras were extremely terrifying. Kik-kik. Sinister laughter came from afar. A female corpse with blood-red hair flew over. The female corpse was wearing a blood-red corpse robe. Her hair covered half of her face. Only half of her face was exposed. The half of her face that was exposed was very beautiful, pure and moving, delicate and pitiful. Yo, it's a beauty. Tao Tai teased. The female corpse said sinisterly, "You have good taste. I won't eat you directly later. I'll suck you dry first, then eat you." Hearing the female corpse's words, Tao Tai's entire body trembled. Lin Feng couldn't help but laugh. Tao Tai pointed at Lin Feng, then said to the female corpse, "If you want to suck young energy, find this brat. This brat is very fierce. Even if you suck him for 10 days and 10 nights, I guarantee that you won't be able to suck his yang energy dry." Hearing this, Lin Feng couldn't help but roll his eyes. He had the urge to kick Tao Tai to death. Genius 1 second, remember this site address. Mobile version reading website. Chapter 5474. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. After this, more powerful existences flew over from afar. They were all undead creatures. There were rotten corpses, evil corpses, een gods, corpse demons, and so on, including the female corpse. There were a total of 13 of them. These existences, they were even stronger than the 7 corpse demons on the 14th floor. The strongest one should be one of the evil spirits. That evil spirit's evil aura was too terrifying. It made Lin Feng's hair stand on end. Fragrant. It's really fragrant. I haven't smelled such fragrant flesh in a long time. A corpse said. "Do it." An evil corpse ordered. A large number of undead pounced towards Lin Feng and the others. Lin Feng waved his hand. The Book of the Undead flew out. Yen appeared. That lowly undead creature, kneel on the ground and accept the baptism of the Book of the Undead. Yan's voice resounded throughout the 15th floor of the Cave of the Undead. After his voice fell, the Book of the Undead vibrated and emitted a terrifying pressure. That kind of pressure, it was unimaginable for these undead creatures. So, many of the powerful undead creatures found it hard to bear after feeling this kind of pressure. They directly knelt on the ground. Their bodies trembled. The undead light gushed out from the Book of the Undead and enveloped those undead creatures. Suddenly, the bodies of those undead creatures instantly disintegrated. Then they turned into ashes. So strong. Lin Feng couldn't help but be shocked. Although he knew that Yen had become stronger, he didn't expect Yen to be so tyrannical. It was really unbelievable. When the 13 Sage Realm Undead saw this scene, their expressions couldn't help but change. Although they didn't know what the Book of the Undead was, they could feel an extremely dangerous evil aura from the Book of the Undead. These undead creatures knew how to seek good fortune and avoid disaster. Although they wanted to eat Lin Feng and the others, when these Sage Realm Undead saw the Book of the Undead, They didn't dare to stay any longer. Instead, they ran towards the depths. F***CK. So cowardly? Lin Feng couldn't help but be speechless. They were so arrogant before. In the blink of an eye, they all fled. This transformation, it was really hard to accept. Yen, grab them, Lin Feng said. Yes, master, Yanning said. Following this, Yan's voice rang out. Filthy undead, on behalf of the great master, I'll give you a chance to be reborn. Hurry up and come over and kowtow to the great master. Rays of light shot out from the Book of the Dead. Those lights, it directly enveloped the 13 terrifying undead creatures. The undead were unable to struggle. Everything in the world had its own counter. Those undead were powerful. Helplessly, the suppression of the Book of the Undead was simply too great. What magic treasure is this? The blood-haired female corpse shrieked. Lin Feng said, The Book of Undead. You are the nemesis of the undead. The evil spirit said in a gloomy voice, Brat, do you know whose subordinates we are? You actually dared to use the Book of the Dead to devour us? If our master finds out, even 10 lives won't be enough for you. Are you threatening me? Lin Feng sneered. The one thing I'm least afraid of is being threatened. I don't care who your master is. All I know is that today you will all become my slaves. Yanning understood. He began to deal with the undead. A large number of runes surged out. Those runes, they all surged into the bodies of the undead. Contract, condense. Yan Ying's voice rang out again. When Yan Ying's voice fell, the runes that entered the bodies of the undead began to condense into a contract. The undead began to struggle. They didn't want to become a contract slave of the Book of the Dead. However, their struggles had no effect at all. In the end, the 13 undead creatures all became contract slaves of the Book of the Dead, including the 7 corpse demons from before. Added together, there were a total of 20 saint-level undead creatures. This made Lin Feng extremely excited. Lin Feng and the others didn't continue to advance to the 16th floor. Instead, they returned to their residence. This was because Yanning needed to rest every time he attacked. And while resting, Yanning had to fuse with new power. He had to make himself stronger. Only in this way. Only then could he deal with the more powerful undead creatures. After Yanning rested, Lin Feng and the others charged to the 16th floor of the Cave of Death. There were 15 saint-level undead creatures on the 16th floor of the Cave of Death, although there were only 2 more undead creatures. However, the strength of the undead creatures had increased a lot. However, Yan Ying's ability was also very powerful. Using the previous method, he made these undead creatures sign contracts with the Book of the Dead. As a result, the Book of the Dead had signed contracts with 35 saint-level existences. Lin Feng could wake up laughing even in his dreams now. He went back to rest for 10 days. Yanning came out again. So Lin Feng and the others charged to the 17th floor of the Cave of the Dead. The undead creatures on the 17th floor of the Cave of the Dead were even more powerful, and their numbers were sharply reduced. There were only 5 undead creatures. The weakest undead creature was at the 5th heaven of the saint level. The strongest undead creature was at the 7th heaven of the saint level. The strength of these undead creatures was incomparably terrifying. If it wasn't for the suppression of the Book of the Dead, Lin Feng and the others coming here was basically no different from sending themselves to their deaths. However, even with the suppression of the Book of the Dead, they still encountered trouble this time. The 2 saint-level undead creatures resisted very fiercely, but fortunately, Lin Feng and the others helped Yan Ying suppress these 2 saint-level undead creatures. In the end, they suppressed these 2 saint-level undead creatures. Lin Feng couldn't help but let out a long breath. In the end, these 5 powerful undead creatures also signed contracts with the Book of the Dead. There was only the last floor of the Cave of the Dead left. The biggest secret was inside the last floor of the Cave of the Dead. After Lin Feng and the others returned to their residence, they began to adjust their state. Only when their state was at its peak, it would be safer. Savage still hadn't woken up from his cultivation. Lin Feng originally wanted to call Savage to go with him, but since Savage hadn't woken up, there was no need to disturb Savage. After Yenning recovered, Lin Feng asked, "Did you sense the aura of the 18th floor of the Cave of the Dead?" "I vaguely sensed it," Yenning said. "Yes. What do you think is inside? Even more powerful undead creatures? Or something else?" Lin Feng asked. Yenning said, "It's hard to say. The aura there is somewhat strange. Only by entering that place will we be able to find out what the situation inside is like." Lin Feng nodded. The next day, Lin Feng and the others set out, heading straight for the 18th floor of the Cave of Death. Genius 1 second, remember this site address. Mobile version, reading website, Chapter 5475. Very soon, Lin Feng and the others reached the 17th floor of the Cave of the Dead Souls. Before entering the 18th floor of the Cave of the Dead Souls, everyone was a little nervous. Perhaps, no matter who faced the situation in front of them, they would all be nervous. Who knew if there was some terrifying existence on the 18th floor? Lin Feng and the others adjusted their emotions and then entered the 18th floor of the Cave of the Dead Souls. After entering, Lin Feng and the others saw that there was actually a skull on the 18th floor of the Cave of the Dead Souls. Apart from the skull, there was nothing else. There was nothing else. This Lin Feng and Tao Tai couldn't help but look at each other. Could the secret of the 18th floor of the Cave of the Dead Souls be this skull? Why was the situation so strange? Lin Feng felt that things were definitely not that simple. He planned to see what was so special about the skull. When Lin Feng got close to the skull, a voice suddenly appeared. Suddenly, the skull actually opened its eyes. It was said to be the eyes. It was actually the ghost fire in the eye sockets. The 2 balls of ghost fire jumped, looking very strange. Lin Feng quickly retreated. The skull flew into the air. After looking around at Lin Feng and the others, it said, "I really didn't expect that after so many years, someone would actually be able to come here. In that case, have those undead creatures been subdued by you?" "Yes." Lin Feng nodded. "Not bad, not bad. You were actually able to subdue so many undead creatures. You have to know that in the eastern region, less than 100 saint-level undead creatures have appeared, and almost half of them are gathered here. No matter how you subdued those undead creatures, it shows that you have some extraordinary methods." The skull said, "Did you summon those undead creatures? Are you the master of those undead creatures? Is the formation of the Cave of Death related to you? What kind of existence are you now? Are you also an undead? Which expert were you when you were alive?" Lin Feng asked a series of questions. At the same time, he was very cautious. He had been on guard against the terrifying existence in front of him. That was because Lin Feng couldn't figure out the character of this skull. Since it was an existence from the 18th floor of the Cave of the Undead, it had to be very powerful. Their battle prowess would definitely be terrifying. If they attacked, Lin Feng was very worried, even with a treasure like the Book of the Dead. Most likely, he wouldn't be able to deal with the other party. However, since he had already encountered the skull head, he had no choice but to fight. Lin Feng wasn't someone who was afraid of trouble. He would take it one step at a time. "You sure have a lot of questions," the skull said. "Can you answer my questions?" Lin Feng asked. The skull replied, "Of course, there's no problem." Your first question is, did I summon those undead here? No, I didn't summon those undead. They came here on their own. I sense the chi here, so I came here. Speaking of which, it does seem to have something to do with me, said Lin Feng. Your second question is, am I the master of those undead creatures? Hee, I've never admitted it, but what those undead creatures think has nothing to do with me. Your third question is, do I have anything to do with the formation of the Cave of Death? There should be a direct connection. Your fourth question is, what kind of existence am I? Am I also an undead? I can tell you that I'm not an undead. I'm a creature of the skeleton clan. However, my body has been destroyed, and only my head is left. My last question is, who was I when I was alive? Since I'm not dead, there's no such thing as when I was alive or when I was dead. You asked this question because you want to know my identity, so there's no harm in telling you. I was once the chief of the skeleton clan, and the master of the minor six paths came from the skeleton clan. When he saw me, he had to respectfully call me uncle. After listening to the skeleton's words, Lin Feng was shocked. This was a skeletal creature. What a great origin! Even if such an existence was only left with a head, if it attacked them, it would not be able to withstand the attacks of these fellows. But this skeleton, it didn't attack them. What did that mean? I know what you're thinking. If you had died up there, I would have been happy. Since you didn't die up there, I won't attack you, the skeleton said. All right. After hearing the skeleton's promise, Lin Feng couldn't help but feel happy. He then asked, why? I thought that you would attack us. To return the favor, the skeleton said. What favor? Lin Feng looked at the skeleton in surprise. He didn't know what the skeleton was talking about. Didn't that guy bring you here? The skeleton said indifferently. Lin Feng raised his eyebrows. The guy the skull was talking about, was he referring to the barbarians? After an existence like the skull woke up, the Skull King's eyes lit up. He could sense Savage's aura. It was normal. After all, Savage didn't try to hide his aura. He brought you here to remind me that it's time to return the favor. The skeleton continued. You owe Senior Savage a favor? Lin Feng asked. Yes, the skeleton said. But the skeleton didn't say what kind of favor he owed Savage. Lin Feng didn't ask either. There's a powerful Yin energy gathered here for hundreds of millions of years. It can help you break through to the true immortal realm. The skeleton said. Hearing that, Lin Feng's face was filled with joy. Lin Feng had been cultivating here for a long time. He didn't know how many life and death battles he had experienced. He didn't know how many battles he had experienced. Lin Feng was already on the verge of breaking through, but he was still missing an opportunity. Breaking through to the true immortal realm was different from breaking through to the true immortal realm. In the true immortal realm, one could use life and death battles to stimulate the body's potential to increase one's cultivation. But the true immortal realm was different. In the true immortal realm, one had to rely on some powerful opportunities to help the cultivator break through. For example, breaking through to the true immortal realm was like this. Once one broke through, one would immediately turn from a mortal to an immortal. So breaking through would be very difficult. It required an unprecedented opportunity. This was also what Lin Feng was worried about. Where could he find such a great opportunity? Now, there was a light at the end of the tunnel. At this time, the skeleton exhaled. When the breath landed on the ground, an array diagram appeared. When the array diagram appeared, Lin Feng immediately felt it. The 18th level of the Cave of Death seemed to have become a purgatory world. I've sealed all the Yin energy below. Now, I can release the seal and let you absorb the Yin energy. As for whether you can break through, it's up to you. The skeleton said. Genius 1 second. Remember this site address. Mobile version reading website. Chapter 5476. Tao Tai, take BB and the others and leave. Lin Feng said. Tao Tai nodded. He left with BB and the others. Only Lin Feng and the skull were left behind. After the skull was unsealed, it also chose to leave. A large amount of baleful yin energy. It gushed out from the ground. Lin Feng began to absorb the baleful yin energy. Lin Feng absorbed a large amount of baleful yin energy. Lin Feng discovered that this baleful yin energy was different from normal baleful yin energy because this baleful yin energy contained a very special kind of power. It was the power of the Tao. No wonder this baleful yin energy could help him break through to the true immortal realm. Lin Feng had some doubts before. It was just baleful yin energy. It shouldn't be able to help a cultivator break through to the true immortal realm, right? After all, strictly speaking, baleful yin energy wasn't considered a very high-level power. However, this baleful yin energy was different. Helping a cultivator break through was not a problem at all. Tao Tai and the others left the area. They stood in the distance and watched Lin Feng go through his tribulation. The savage also woke up. The skull flew over from afar. When it saw Savage, it said, "How many years has it been since we last met? I didn't expect you to appear in such a way. Are you coming out of seclusion?" Savage raised his eyelids and asked. "That's what I was thinking." The skull said, "If I don't come out soon, perhaps no one will remember me." "What about you? What are your plans?" The skull asked. "I'm going to do something very important. After he breaks through, I'll leave." Savage said, "You have a lot of confidence in him, but this kid's accumulation is too strong. It's not necessarily a good thing." The skull said, "For others, it might be destined to fail, but for him, it's nothing." Savage said, "Oh, you have that much confidence in him?" The skull was astonished. "Of course." Savage said, "He's different from the rest. I think you've more or less noticed it." The skull said, "I did notice something about his fourth bloodline. Let's not talk about it." Savage said. Skull tactfully shut his mouth and no longer talked about this matter. It took Lin Feng 10 days to completely devour the baleful yin energy. The Tao law power contained within the baleful yin energy was also completely absorbed by Lin Feng. Lin Feng really wanted to roar, because he felt too comfortable now. The light of calamity flickered between his eyebrows. Obviously, Lin Feng was about to undergo his tribulation. He flew out of the cave of the dead spirits. Then he flew into the distance. This was because Lin Feng didn't want to destroy the skull's nest. If he were to undergo the tribulation here, the skull's nest had to be destroyed. After Lin Feng chose the location for his tribulation, he no longer suppressed the tribulation light between his eyebrows. Above the 9 heavens, thunder rumbled. Very soon, the first lightning tribulation struck down. Lin Feng soared into the sky and swept his fist towards the descending tribulation lightning in the following period of time. Lin Feng began his tribulation. Undergoing the tribulation wasn't easy. Lin Feng knew this very well. However, he didn't expect that the true immortal tribulation this time would be so dangerous. When he was only halfway through the tribulation, Lin Feng already felt extremely tired. This was an extremely terrifying matter, because the further he went, the stronger the lightning tribulation would be. At that time, the damage to his body, the exhaustion of his body, it would also be more powerful. Now, he was only halfway through the tribulation lightning and already felt tired. How would he pass the rest of the tribulation lightning? Lin Feng's expression was extremely ugly, but fortunately, the heavens didn't bar one's way. At this time, a large amount of faith energy surged over and was all absorbed by Lin Feng. Almighty God, please bless my father so that he can recover quickly. Lord God, please bless me so that I can obtain a good ranking in the martial arts examination. Lord God, please give this little girl a good husband, please. Amidst the faith energy, it was mixed with endless thoughts. They were all things that the believers prayed for. This faith energy came from the temples that worshipped Lin Feng. Lin Feng had established his own forces in the Sky Martial Continent, the 9 prefectures, and some star fields in the starry sky world. Within those areas of influence, there were temples that worshipped him. They were able to continuously produce faith energy. Back then, when Lin Feng broke through to the Emperor realm, he had actually borrowed the faith energy. Now, Lin Feng broke through to the true immortal realm. The faith energy once again played a big role. The faith energy formed a long river of faith energy that flowed into Lin Feng's body. After receiving the support of the faith energy, Lin Feng's Fa Li recovered very quickly. Lin Feng continued to undergo the tribulation. The tribulation lightning became more and more terrifying. Lin Feng narrowly escaped death several times. However, he was still killed twice. The first time he was killed, Lin Feng relied on the undying bloodline to revive. Lin Feng felt that he was really lucky. The undying bloodline played a role at the crucial moment. Lin Feng was so excited that tears almost streamed down his face. But when he was killed for the second time, Lin Feng's heart turned cold, because the moment he was killed, Lin Feng was actually still conscious. The moment he was killed, undying bloodline, there was no movement at all. After all, the undying bloodline had already been successfully activated once. To continuously activate the undying bloodline's rebirth technique in a short period of time, it was indeed too difficult, so Lin Feng failed. Just as Lin Feng thought he was done for, a voice suddenly appeared. The Phoenix Nirvana technique that Lin Feng cultivated played a role. The Phoenix Nirvana technique was a sacred art recorded in the Phoenix Grimoire. This was the method of the Phoenix clan, and Lin Feng had learned it. After surviving 2 calamities in succession, Lin Feng's information multiplied. Although the last lightning tribulation was terrifying, but it was not able to destroy Lin Feng. In the end, Lin Feng succeeded in transcending the tribulation. He sat cross-legged. The energy of heaven and earth gathered and poured into Lin Feng's body. At the same time, endless Tao laws, they also poured into Lin Feng's body. Lin Feng's injured body was recovering rapidly. The surface of Lin Feng's body was surrounded by treasure light. That kind of treasure light, it made him look so sacred and so otherworldly. The previous Lin Feng, he was still immortal, from his body to his soul. Even if his combat power was amazing, he was still immortal. But the current Lin Feng, he was a true immortal, transcending mortality and becoming an immortal. So every move, he had a feeling of being otherworldly, like an immortal. Breaking through to the true immortal realm was not only a breakthrough in his own realm. His physical body and soul had also improved greatly. His physical body had improved from the 2nd level of the sacred realm to the 3rd level of the sacred realm. His soul had broken through from the 1st level of the sacred realm to the 2nd level of the sacred realm. Lin Feng opened his eyes. In his eyes, Yi Zichen was stunned. It was as if there was an ancient world floating in each of them. Genius 1 second, remember this site, address. Mobile version, reading website. Chapter 5477. In the distance, Tao Tai, Bibi, Blackie, Xiaolong, the Emperor Archaic, the Ancestor Insect, the Devil King Insect, the Savage, the Skull, and the others all flew over. Lin Feng stood up. When he saw his friends and elders, he couldn't help but feel even happier. It was a good thing. He needed to share it with his friends, relatives, lovers, family, and elders. Ha! A scourge like you broke through to the true immortal realm. Tao Tai said with a laugh. Lin Feng rolled his eyes and said, "What are you talking about? Who are you calling a scourge?" "I'm calling you a scourge, the biggest scourge in the world," Tao Tai said with a laugh. "I really want to kick you to the Western Hemisphere." Lin Feng pursed his lips. Lin Feng then looked at the savage and said, "Senior, fortunately, I didn't disappoint you. This junior has finally broken through to the true immortal realm." Savage was very happy to see Lin Feng break through. He had been watching Lin Feng from afar. Although he was very confident in Lin Feng, but it was impossible for him not to be nervous. After all, no one could be 100% sure that they would succeed. Savage's confidence in Lin Feng came from the fact that Lin Feng was someone who had created miracles time and time again. But that didn't mean that Lin Feng would definitely succeed. When he saw Lin Feng being destroyed by the lightning tribulation for the second time, Savage's heart was in his throat. Fortunately, Lin Feng had used the Phoenix Nirvana technique to return. "Do you feel different after breaking through?" Savage asked. "I feel that this world is different. Originally, I thought that a single world was a single world, but now I feel that a single world can overlap and interweave with many other worlds. Originally, if I didn't use some special methods, I wouldn't be able to discover these parallel worlds or parallel spaces. But now it's different. I can sense the existence of these parallel worlds and parallel spaces anytime and anywhere." Lin Feng said, "You've just broken through, and you still haven't grasped many of the abilities of the true immortal realm. Once you gradually grasp those abilities, you'll know that the true immortal realm is even more extraordinary than you can imagine. You can slowly experience these things in the future. You've just broken through, so you need to rest for a while. Let's go back to our residence first." "All right." Lin Feng nodded. He returned to the mountain peak, where he was temporarily staying. Lin Feng began to recover. Soon, he entered a deep state of cultivation. The skull looked at Lin Feng, its eyes flickering. He said, "What a good seedling. It's a pity that he encountered the worst generation." The end of the epoch was imminent. This was indeed the worst era, causing countless people to feel despair. The worst era sometimes means that it's the best era. The times create heroes, and in the interval between the destruction of an era and the birth of a new one, there will always be some people who will seize the opportunity. "Do you think this kid is that kind of person?" Skull asked. "Yes," Savage said. "You're too confident in him. That's not good." Skull said. Savage said, "Because his surname is Lin, everything is destined to be possible." This time, Lin Feng spent a month cultivating before he opened his eyes. Seeing that Lin Feng had woken up, Bibi and the others were very happy. They all ran over and surrounded Lin Feng. Then, they danced and chattered to Lin Feng. At night, the bonfire burned. Lin Feng displayed his cooking skills. All kinds of delicious dishes filled the table. Lin Feng had a strong premonition. Savage was about to leave. So, Lin Feng planned to let Savage have a good meal before leaving. Skull was very depressed because it had no way to eat. It could only look at Lin Feng from the corner of its eyes. However, its eyes were ghost fire. When it looked at Lin Feng from the corner of its eyes, the ghost fire only jumped a few times more violently. Who knew what that meant? After eating and drinking, Lin Feng and Savage stood at the edge of the cliff and looked into the distance. "When is the next time we meet?" Lin Feng asked. "Maybe soon, maybe when the war of destruction arrives, or maybe We will never meet again." Savage said, "This world was very cruel, especially now. The world was so big. Once they parted, coupled with the fact that the war of destruction was about to arrive. So, it wasn't strange that their parting had turned into an eternal farewell." Lin Feng's heart was very heavy. Savage Sr. had silently protected him for many years. Lin Feng treated Savage Sr. as a close relative. So, thinking about this parting, it might be forever. He couldn't help but feel very sad in his heart. Lin Feng said, "I know that Senior has something extremely important to do, but no matter how important it is, I hope that Senior can put your own safety as the most important thing and abandon yourself to protect others. This kind of thing should be left for others to do." Lin Feng was not a saint, so he did not want to see his family become a saint. Lin Feng could do many things for the world, but Lin Feng couldn't sacrifice himself for the sake of saving the world. Those great saints could sacrifice themselves to save others. Lin Feng could not. Lin Feng hoped that his family would not do this. He would only do what he could. If he died, he would really disappear into thin air. Many years later, who would remember you? Just like those great existences in history. For the sake of the world, they sacrificed themselves. What was their fate? They became the blood of sin. Their descendants became the descendants of the blood of sin. Their descendants were mercilessly erased. Who pitied them? Who would pity their descendants on account of their contributions in the past? No. So, heroes could do it. Never be the kind of hero who sacrificed himself to help others. Doing that, it was not righteous. It was stupid. The savage was silent. Senior. Lin Feng looked at the savage. The savage turned to look at Lin Feng. He finally nodded. Lin Feng's face. A smile appeared on his face. He believed that the savage would not lie to him. There would definitely be a time when they would meet again. Right? The next day, the savage left. The skull also left. It wanted to look around because it had been sleeping for too many years. It was very curious. What kind of world was the outside world like? After the savage left, Lin Feng's mood was slightly bad. But Lin Feng was also used to seeing storms and waves. Soon, he adjusted his mood. Tao Tai looked at Lin Feng and asked, "What are your plans next?" Genius 1 second, remember this site address. Mobile version reading website. Chapter 5478. Lin Feng said, "Participate in the regional war and search for the teleportation stone in the ancient battlefield." Tao Tai nodded and said, "That's a choice. Since I have nothing to do, I'll participate in the regional war with you." "That's great. When the time comes, we'll definitely be able to kill everyone," Lin Feng said with a smile. They didn't stay here for long. Instead, they quickly left this place. Saint City. This was a famous ancient city in the eastern region. It was rumored that the person who built the Saint City was an expert with great wisdom and magnanimity in order to fight against the foreign creatures. In the end, he died in the foreign battlefield. It was just that too much time had passed, and no one knew who that sage was. The reason why they came to this place was because Lin Feng and Tao Tai planned to buy 2 spots to enter the ancient battlefield. In the ancient battlefield, Lin Feng had many things to do. First of all, he had to find the mysterious celestial fire the evil flame master had told him about. If he could assimilate it, his cultivation would increase tremendously. Apart from that, there were many other benefits. Therefore, Lin Feng really wanted to obtain that kind of heavenly flame as soon as possible. Furthermore, Lin Feng also had a bigger wish, and that was to be able to go to the Supreme Divine Court to take a look before leaving the world of time reversal. The door of eternal life, the legend of the Supreme Divine Court, Lin Feng had heard too many times. Lin Feng wanted to see what the Supreme Divine Court was like, see if he had the chance to enter the Supreme Divine Court, and then get a few precious treasures from the Supreme Divine Court. Of course, Lin Feng also knew that this was a relatively difficult task. However, he couldn't just not do it because it was difficult. To go to the Supreme Divine Court, one would need to use the teleportation stone. It was too difficult to gather the teleportation stone outside. Entering the ancient battlefield to gather the teleportation stone was a bit easier. Generally speaking, the cultivators who entered the ancient battlefield came from the various top powers. However, there were always some accidents. Those top powers would reward some of the spots to the families that had sided with them. Some family members would send their experts into the ancient battlefield to train. However, there were also some clans who felt that it was too dangerous to enter the ancient battlefield. Therefore, they took out the quota and sold it. The top forces that controlled the teleportation array were well aware of this matter, but they turned a blind eye to it and didn't care about it. Lin Feng and the Tao Tai went to find out who was qualified. Very quickly, they heard that in 5 days, someone was going to sell 5 people to them. When the time came, he would sell the quota at the Saint Pavilion. The highest bidder wins. After inquiring about the news, Lin Feng was relieved. In terms of financial resources, Lin Feng had never been afraid of anyone. They're selling teleportation stones. They're selling teleportation stones. They've just been unearthed. Come and take a look. When Lin Feng and Tao Tai went to find a place to live, they heard someone shouting loudly. Many people gathered around. A middle-aged cultivator was selling the so-called teleportation stone. It must be fake, right? It's definitely fake. Teleportation stones are so precious. If someone obtained a teleportation stone, would they sell it on the street? Many people started discussing spiritedly. They didn't believe that the middle-aged man was selling teleportation stones. You may not know this, but there are 2 types of teleportation stones. The first type is the teleportation stone used to enter the ancient battlefield. This type of teleportation stone is extremely rare, but there are a lot of them. These teleportation stones are basically monopolized by the top forces. Nobody can get their hands on them. The second type of teleportation stone is the teleportation stone used to go to the Divine Court. This type of teleportation stone is even rarer. I can't get my hands on it. These teleportation stones can help you enter the ancient battlefield. Once you're there, you can go and find the teleportation stone used to go to the Divine Court. The middle-aged man's words shocked many people. However, Lin Feng already knew about this. The teleportation stone he had obtained from the beautiful woman was the one used to go to the Divine Court, not the one used to go to the ancient battlefield. This kind of teleportation stone, it was even more precious. Are the teleportation stones you're selling real? Some people were tempted. Of course they're real. I swear on the ancestors of the Li clan that I'm telling the truth, said the middle-aged man. You're related to the Li clan? Some people were surprised. Of course, I'm from the Li clan. Otherwise, how could I have gotten my hands on these things? Said the middle-aged man. Lin Feng knew that the Li clan was a powerful clan in Saint City. Yes, he's from the Li clan. Indeed, he's a member of the Li clan. I know him. His name is Li Xiuxian. He's a second-generation member of the Li clan. I think he stole those things, so he doesn't dare to sell them. If he goes to those places, the Li clan will definitely find out. I know him too. He's just a loafer from the Li clan. I'll take these teleportation stones, said someone else. After the middle-aged man's identity was confirmed, the teleportation stones became a hot topic. The Tao Tai also wanted to go and buy some teleportation stones, but Lin Feng grabbed it. He's a swindler. Don't be fooled. Lin Feng said. Swindler? Tao Tai was surprised. Yes, those guys who spoke before were all fake. They're just putting on a show. Some high-level cultivators don't see such swindlers, but in the secular world, there are many of them, Lin Feng said. Hearing that, the corner of Tao Tia's mouth twitched slightly. Lin Feng and Tao Tai ignored these people. They left immediately and found an inn to stay in. In the next few days, Lin Feng and Tao Tai didn't go out. In the blink of an eye, it was time for the auction. Lin Feng and Tao Tai arrived at the Saint Pavilion. When they arrived, they found that the Saint Pavilion was overcrowded. However, Lin Feng guessed that there were more people here to watch the show, but there shouldn't be many people who wanted to buy the slots. After all, the slots to enter the ancient battlefield were extremely expensive. It wasn't something that ordinary people could afford. That guy is here too. Tao Tai pointed in a direction. Lin Feng looked over. Sure enough, he saw the middle-aged man. He had a shifty look and was also here to join in the fun. The middle-aged man also saw Lin Feng. He walked directly towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. He didn't know what the middle-aged man meant by walking towards him. Genius! Remember this site's address in a second. Chapter 5479. Lin Feng was skilled and bold, so he was naturally not afraid of this middle-aged cultivator. After a short time, the middle-aged cultivator arrived next to Lin Feng and bowed hand over fist. Brother Lin, it's a pleasure to meet you. I wouldn't have thought I'd meet you here. I'm in a foreign land, and I'm in tears. Damn, who is this guy? He actually came here to worm his way into being friends with me. Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter in his heart. Lin Feng asked, Brother, do you know me? Back then, in the holy stone city of the Sky Martial Continent, Brother Lin's elegance in cutting stones is still unforgettable. The middle-aged cultivator said, You're from the Sky Martial Continent. Lin Feng looked at the middle-aged man in shock. Hee, that's right. The middle-aged man grinned. Lin Feng was truly shocked. Sky Martial Continent, the starting point of life. Who would have thought that he would actually meet someone from the Sky Martial Continent in a world where time had reversed? Furthermore, he didn't know this guy. But this guy knew him. This guy couldn't be lying to him, right? In view of the fact that he had seen this guy swindle before. So Lin Feng felt that his suspicions were actually very necessary. Of course, Lin Feng didn't express his suspicions. He just wanted to be careful. Brother, how should I address you? Lin Feng asked. Brother Lin is too polite. I am Wu Xiuren. The middle-aged man introduced himself. Wu Xiuren. Lin Feng carefully searched for this name, and at the same time searched for the top families of the Sky Martial Continent. He was sure. He had never heard of this name. The Sky Martial Continent also didn't have a top family like the Wu family. Although Lin Feng was suspicious of Wu Xiuren's identity, he still put on a cordial expression and said, So, it's Brother Wu. I also didn't expect to meet an old friend from the Sky Martial Continent here. Is Brother Wu still in the Sky Martial Continent? Back then, when the Sky Demon was causing trouble, I had already fled the Sky Martial Continent. Danger lurked everywhere, and I almost lost my life. Fortunately, my luck was not bad, and I was saved by the Jiang family. Wu Xiuren sighed. Jiang family? Jiang Yuri's clan? Lin Feng asked in surprise. Back then, Lin Feng's relationship with Jiang Yuri was quite good. Although the two of them were not in a relationship, they were at least relatively good friends of the opposite sex. But later on, during the chaos of the heavenly demons, the Jiang family fled the Sky Martial Continent. From then on, thus, he had lost track of Jiang Yuri's whereabouts. Calculating the time, it had been about 170 years. Lin Feng would sometimes think of his old friends and Jiang Yudi. However, he did not know where Jiang Yudi was. He did not expect to hear about the Jiang family from Wu Xuren. Wu Xuren nodded and said, "That's right, it's the Jiang family." Lin Feng suddenly became excited. Would there be a chance for him to meet Jiang Yudi again? He asked, "Where are the Jiang family members?" Wu Xuren sighed and said, "I really don't know where the Jiang family members are. Back then, when we were traveling through space, we encountered space bandits and were defeated. Most of the people were killed, but I and a few others managed to escape. However, in the following years, everyone else died, and I was the only one who survived. As for Jiang Yudi's whereabouts, I don't know. Perhaps she died in that battle, or perhaps she managed to escape. However, judging from the intensity of that battle, the chances of her escaping are not very high." Hearing Wu Xuren's words, Lin Feng's expression was extremely ugly. Was Jiang Yudi really dead? "Brother, don't be sad. Heaven helps the worthy. Miss Jiang Yudi is a good person, so she might be fine." Wu Xuren saw that Lin Feng's expression was somewhat ugly, so he tried to persuade him. "Yes." Lin Feng nodded gloomily. He calmed himself down and said, "Brother Wu, many unbelievable things must have happened to you, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't have come here." Wu Xuren lowered his voice and said, "Brother, you might not believe me, but later on I met an incredible existence." "What kind of existence?" Lin Feng couldn't help but be curious. "A stone ape that had lost its memories. It was abnormally strong, and I followed it for many years. That stone ape was unbelievably strong. It was thanks to that stone ape that I was able to enter the time reversal world." Wu Xuren continued. "Stone ape?" Lin Feng couldn't help but frown slightly. There weren't many powerful stone apes in history, so Lin Feng thought of the sacred battle ape. It was said that it was born at the same time as the great sage, heaven's equal. Apart from that, Lin Feng didn't think of other powerful apes. The sacred battle ape had once fought against the heavens and the earth. However, it was said that it had suffered a calamity in the end, but the details weren't clear. "Where is that stone ape?" Lin Feng asked. "The demon realm." Wu Xuren said. "So you're also in the demon realm?" Lin Feng asked in surprise. "That's right." Wu Xuren nodded. Lin Feng was a little surprised. He didn't expect Wu Xuren to be in the demon realm. Actually, Lin Feng planned to go to the demon realm. This was because Lin Feng had the Demon Lord token. This was the identity token of the demon realm's master. With this token, one could unify the demon realm. However, Lin Feng heard that the demon realm was very turbulent. Various forces were fighting each other, and there were constant battles. Now, he could learn more about the demon realm from Wu Xuren. Lin Feng asked, "Brother Wu, what's the situation in the demon realm now?" Wu Xuren said, "The demon realm is rather chaotic. Many great forces are fighting to the death, wanting to unify the demon realm, but no one is able to do it. The era is about to end. Why keep fighting?" Lin Feng was speechless. Brother Lin might not understand some things. If you can control a powerful world like the demon realm, then you can connect your family's luck with the demon realm's luck. The luck of a top great world is incomparably extraordinary. When the time comes, by sacrificing the demon realm when the era is about to end, they might be able to protect their family's survival. Wu Xuren said, "Oh, there's such a thing?" Lin Feng couldn't help but frown slightly. At the same time, he was a little surprised. He hadn't thought of such a thing. It seemed that controlling a great world could help this force become a force that transcended eras. Of course, the prerequisite was that this force could survive when the era was about to end. And this was often the most difficult thing to do. Genius 1 second, remember this site address. Mobile version reading website. Chapter 5480. If I go to the devil world in the future, can Brother Wu introduce me to that stone ape? Lin Feng smiled at Wu Xiuren. He wanted to see if that stone ape was the legendary victorious battle ape. It was rumored that the victorious battle ape had already fallen. Could the rumors be false? In fact, it was very difficult to tell the difference between truth and falsehood. Wu Xiuren smiled. Of course, no problem. Lin Feng then said, I'll introduce you to a friend of mine, Brother Wu. This is my friend, Wan Shutian. Lin Feng introduced the Tao Tai to Wu Xiuren. The Tao Tai had taken human form and appeared as Wan Shutian. Haha, Brother Wan, nice to meet you. Wu Xiuren smiled and cupped his fists. The Tao Tai also cupped his fists and said, Nice to meet you. Lin Feng looked at Wu Xiuren and asked, Brother Wu, are you here to buy a spot to enter the ancient battlefield? Wu Xiuren nodded. Yes, it seems that Brother Lin and Brother Wan have the same plan. We can enter together. I heard that there are some teleportation stones that lead to the Supreme Divine Court. We can try our luck in the ancient battlefield. Who knows, we might be able to find them. Oh, is Brother Wu's information accurate? Lin Feng asked in surprise. Wu Xiuren said, It should be accurate. We'll be able to confirm it once we enter. We won't lose anything even if we don't find them, but if we do, Wu Xiuren didn't finish his sentence. However, Lin Feng and the Tao Tai knew what Wu Xiuren was going to say. Lin Feng and the Tao Tai's eyes lit up. Just as Wu Xiuren had said, if they really found a teleportation stone, would they be able to go to the Supreme Divine Court? If they were lucky, they might be able to enter the Supreme Divine Court. They might even be able to obtain some extraordinary items there. After all, it was the Supreme Divine Court. The items inside would definitely be extremely heaven-defying. Whether or not they could obtain those items would depend on their luck. At this moment, a commotion could be heard coming from the front. Lin Feng and the others looked over and saw 3 cultivators walking out from the rear hall. The leader was an old man. There was also a beautiful female cultivator and a middle-aged man. The old man smiled and said, Someone entrusted something to us, the Saints' Pavilion, to sell. There are 5 medallions in total. When the time comes, you can take the medallions to the city lord's residence and hand them over. Someone will take you to the teleportation channel. The old man paused for a moment before he continued. Due to the limited number of spots, the token's value is quite high. The starting price is 50 million high-grade immortal stones. After the old man finished speaking, immediately the sound of venting could be heard. The starting price was actually 50 million high-grade immortal stones, and it was an extremely high price indeed. The final price would definitely be even more shocking. Now, the first medallion will be auctioned. Everyone start bidding. The old man said, 1 billion. Lin Feng shouted. Hearing Lin Feng's price, many people's faces turned green. 1 billion was indeed a sky-high price. Is this bread a fake? I think he's most likely a fake. Many people stared at Lin Feng with unfriendly gazes. They felt that Lin Feng was a fake. He was here to drive up the price. To drive up the price. Therefore, nobody chose to bid against Lin Feng. They wanted the item to end up in Lin Feng's hands. The first medallion was sold for 1 billion immortal stones. The second medallion will be auctioned. 1 billion. Lin Feng called out another price. Many people's mouths twitched. Why did this fake come out again? Still, nobody chose to bid. The second medallion was bought by Lin Feng. The third medallion will be auctioned. 1 billion. This time, it was Wu Xiuren who called out the price. Wu Xiaoran had been swindling people outside and had probably earned quite a bit of immortal stones. Hearing Wu Xiaoran's bid of 1 billion, many people's faces turned green. Wu Xiaoran successfully bought the third medallion. The fourth medallion will be auctioned. 1 billion. Someone called out a price. F***CK. It's already 1 billion. I don't care if he's a fake or not. I'm going to follow him today. Someone said coldly. Then he called out a price of 1 billion. Actually, the cultivator who called out the price really wanted to buy the medallion. He saw that the previous 3 bids were sold for 1 billion immortal stones. Originally, he thought that the price of 1 billion would be enough to scare the others. But this time, it wasn't enough to scare the others. Many people participated in the bidding. The fourth medallion was sold for 3 billion immortal stones. The fifth medallion was sold for an even more ridiculous price of 1 billion immortal stones. The other party didn't pay such a high price just to train in the ancient battlefield. They probably had their eyes on the Supreme Divine Court. At this moment, Lin Feng and the other 2 had already left the Saint Immortal Tower. Actually, Lin Feng estimated that the medallion would be sold for 2 to 3 billion immortal stones. Lin Feng made the first move and called out a price of 1 billion, shocking many people. Those people thought that Lin Feng was a fake, so they didn't bid. They used the same method to bid for 2 medallions, saving a few billion immortal stones. Although Lin Feng had a lot of immortal stones, they didn't come by easily. But Lin Feng's celestial stones didn't fall from the sky. He had saved a few billion celestial stones, so he was happy. The immortal stones below the Saint Immortal Tower could be given to the cultivators who were loyal to him in the Sin domain. After leaving the Saint Immortal Tower, Lin Feng and the other 2 found a restaurant to eat. Let's not care about Wu Xiaoran's character or whether he was a scammer. Wu Xiaoran was currently in the devil world and was very useful to Lin Feng. Naturally, he had to get close to Wu Xiaoran. Wu Xiaoran also wanted to get close to Lin Feng. They really hit it off. Lin Feng and the others ordered a table full of good wine and dishes. Everyone ate and chatted. Lin Feng asked Wu Xiaoran many things about the devil world. He also asked Wu Xiaoran why he went to the devil world. Wu Xiaoran told Lin Feng the reason why he went to the devil world was because Senior Stone Ape wanted to go to the devil world. After coming to the devil world, Senior Stone Ape seemed to be looking for something. Lin Feng asked Wu Xiaoran what Senior Stone Ape was looking for, but Wu Xiaoran himself wasn't too sure. Although Wu Xiaoran had asked Senior Stone Ape, but Senior Stone Ape did not tell Wu Xiaoran what he was looking for. Moreover, Senior Stone Ape had been searching in the devil world for many years, but he had never found what he was looking for. After hearing about this from Wu Xiaoran, Lin Feng couldn't help but ponder. The reason for that was because there were many fishy aspects to this matter. Genius, remember this site's address in a second. Chapter 5481. Lin Feng tried to make a guess. If Senior Stone Ape was not a victorious fighting ape, then what was he looking for? If Senior Stone Ape was a victorious fighting ape, then what was he looking for? Lin Feng was mainly speculating on the second possibility. If Senior Stone Ape was a victorious fighting ape, then what was he looking for? This was something worth thinking about. No matter what he was looking for, it must be something extremely shocking. Lin Feng and Wu Xiaoran chatted for a long time. Not only did they talk about the devil world, but they also talked about the Tianwu continent. From Wu Xiaoran's understanding of the Tianwu continent, this person was indeed from the Tianwu continent and was not lying. However, Wu Xiaoran was not a cultivator from a big power. He was just a rogue cultivator. His life could be considered legendary. A rogue cultivator who came from a place like the Tianwu continent actually became such a powerful cultivator step by step. life experience. It could be considered incomparably rich. After coming out of the restaurant, Lin Feng, Tao Tai, and Wu Shiren parted ways. Both sides agreed to meet in the small square outside the St. Pavilion 2 days later. Then, they would go to the city lord's mansion together. Saint City was very lively at night. However, to Lin Feng and Tao Tai, they were just passers-by. Therefore, Lin Feng and Tao Tai had no intention of strolling around here. When Lin Feng and Tao Tai were walking towards their residence, they were blocked by a group of people. F***CK, who are you people? Are your dog eyes blind? You even dare to block our path. Tao Tai's cultivation was strong, so he was naturally not afraid of these people. Humph, what big words. At this time, a cold snort was heard. Then, the crowd parted, and a thin middle-aged man walked out. Lin Feng was sure that he did not know this middle-aged man. As for Tao Tai, previously, Tao Tai had been living alone outside. Moreover, it appeared in its original form. Even if it was someone who had a grudge against it, it would be impossible for them to recognize it. Therefore, it could be inferred that Tao Tai did not know the other party. Who are you? Lin Feng looked at the middle-aged man and asked. The middle-aged man sneered. Do you remember Zhou Ziqing? Lin Feng naturally remembered Zhou Ziqing. Back then, he had killed him with a single arrow. According to Hong Yu, there was an expert behind Zhou Ziqing, an existence at the sage immortal level. It seemed that it was the person in front of him. I do. What's wrong? Lin Feng asked indifferently. Seeing that Lin Feng was still so calm even after being surrounded, the middle-aged man suddenly had an impulse to gnash his teeth. When he looked at Lin Feng, he couldn't help but emit an ice-cold, murderous energy. He said coldly, Brat, I'm going to make you pay with your life for Zhou Ziqing. As soon as he finished speaking, the middle-aged man wanted to kill Lin Feng. But at this time, Lin Feng made his move. He struck out with his palm. A huge energy handprint condensed in the void. Then, the energy handprint ruthlessly smashed into the middle-aged man's body. Bang! Accompanied by a violent collision sound, the middle-aged man's body directly exploded. He died tragically on the spot. The one who was killed was Su Longtian, right? That guy was at the 7th heavenly layer of the Saint Immortal Realm. His strength was unfathomable, but he was killed by that young cultivator with a single move. Who is that young cultivator? Isn't he too powerful? A cultivator could not help but exclaim in shock. His face was filled with disbelief. Many people couldn't help but look at Lin Feng in awe and veneration. The strong would be respected wherever they went. Spare us, young master. Spare us. The other cultivators that the middle-aged man had brought with him repeatedly begged Lin Feng for mercy. They were just a bunch of ants. Lin Feng could not be bothered to argue with them. Scram! Don't let me see you again. Lin Feng said coldly. The group of people did not dare to stay, and quickly left. To Lin Feng, this matter was just a small interlude. Lin Feng and Tao Tai returned to their residence. The two of them did not mention this matter at all. Soon, the day of the meeting arrived. Lin Feng, Tao Tai, and Wu Shiren met at the small plaza in front of the St. Pavilion. Wu Shiren was wearing a fake beard and makeup. If one did not look carefully, one would not be able to recognize him. Lin Feng and Tao Tai could roughly guess why Wu Shiren was doing this. Previously, Wu Shiren had been swindling people outside. Moreover, he had used the Li clan's name to do these things. The Li clan was the City Lord's clan. Lin Feng guessed that the City Lord's clan knew about this matter and might even be looking for Wu Shiren. This time, they were heading to the City Lord's clan. Wu Shiren naturally had to disguise himself. Tao Tai teased, Could it be that you have some sort of perverted hobby? Wu Shiren smiled as he said, I've been researching some Qi Huang techniques recently. Disguising is one of them. Tao Tai snickered and did not expose him. Lin Feng and the other two arrived at the city lord's mansion. Today, the city lord's mansion was quite lively. The people who came to the city lord's mansion were basically cultivators heading to the ancient battlefield. Most of the cultivators belonged to forces that were inextricably linked to the city lord's mansion. Of course, there were also some cultivators who bought the tokens and had no special relationship with the city lord's mansion. After handing over the tokens, Lin Feng and the other two were brought to a courtyard. There was a huge teleportation array in the courtyard. At this moment, some spirit array masters were setting up a large array. Many people were waiting. Lin Feng saw a female cultivator that he had seen before. That female cultivator was none other than the one who had appeared during the auction. Her figure was too outstanding. Moreover, she was so beautiful that it was impossible not to remember her. Who's that woman? Asked Lin Feng, pointing at the female cultivator and looking at Wu Xiaorun. Wu Xiaorun replied, she's the granddaughter of the Saint Pavilion's leader. Her name is Yin Wenji. Why? Are you interested in her? But then again, this woman is indeed a top-notch. Lin Feng shook his head and said, I'm not interested in her. I just feel that she's a little strange. What's strange? Wu Xiaorun asked curiously. Lin Feng did not say anything and said, maybe I'm wrong. At this moment, Lin Feng felt that someone was sizing him up. Lin Feng followed this feeling and looked over. He saw a pair of charming eyes. It was Yin Wenji. This woman was looking at him. What a strong perception. Lin Feng could not help but be surprised. He nodded at Yin Wenji, and this beautiful woman revealed a very beautiful and moving smile. However, this smile seemed to have a deeper meaning in Lin Feng's eyes. Genius 1 second, remember this site address. Mobile version reading website. Chapter 54, 82. Is this eye to eye? Have they hooked up? Tao Tai saw the gaze between Lin Feng and Yin Wenji and couldn't help but tease. Lin Feng smiled and retracted his gaze, not saying anything. However, he was much more guarded against this Yin Wenji. 2 hours later, the Great Array was activated. A spirit array master said, Everyone, the Great Array has been activated. Now, we can enter the Great Array in batches and be teleported to the ancient battlefield. Many people became excited. Naturally, the people from the large factions were the first to be teleported. As for Lin Feng and the others, they were the last batch to be teleported. Lin Feng could understand. After all, they had bought a spot. They were not related to the city lord's family. Naturally, the other party would not let them go first. Batch after batch of cultivators were teleported. Lin Feng realized that as time passed, the energy contained in the teleportation stones was constantly decreasing. When the energy contained in the teleportation stones completely disappeared, the teleportation array would probably not be able to be used anymore. If they wanted to continue using it, they would have to use new teleportation stones to set up the Great Array. In fact, this kind of teleportation stone that could teleport to the ancient battlefield was extremely rare. It was very difficult to find. Lin Feng and the others also boarded the teleportation array. Whoosh! Light flashed. Lin Feng and the others disappeared without a trace. When they continued to teleport again, they had already arrived in another world. This was a world full of dilapidated and rotten aura. Everywhere was foggy. It emitted a gloomy and terrifying aura. Many cracks appeared in the void. Those cracks were the void's cracks. In the distance, there were some rotting corpses that emitted a rotten smell walking towards them. Further away, there were many pitch-black crows that coldly looked at these uninvited guests. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. After entering the ancient battlefield, many people scattered. In fact, many people should have a certain understanding of the ancient battlefield. Therefore, these people had a strong purpose. For example, Wu Shiren knew that there was a teleportation stone that could reach the area of the Supreme Divine Court. Lin Feng had also learned about the location of the heavenly fire from the Fiend Flame Lord. As for the cultivators from the other factions, they had already sent people into the ancient battlefield. In fact, he had entered the ancient battlefield more than once. Perhaps he had made some shocking discoveries, but he hadn't been able to obtain those opportunities in time. He had no choice but to leave the ancient battlefield. It was said that one person could only enter the ancient battlefield once. When the ancient battlefield opened again, they would no longer be able to enter. More often than not, they would tell some specific information to the cultivators of their forces who entered the ancient battlefield. At that time, the cultivators of their forces would be able to explore it. Should we go look for the teleportation stone first, or should we go look for the heavenly flame? Tao Tai asked. Lin Feng took out a map. This was a map of the ancient battlefield that he had bought from outside. This map was actually very simple. Because many places were too dangerous, the map did not record them in detail. Lin Feng glanced at the endless sea of fire on the map. He pointed and said, "The endless sea of flames is probably in this area." Lin Feng then looked at Wu Shiren and asked, "Where is the teleportation stone you mentioned?" "This area?" Wu Shiren pointed at the map. Lin Feng was surprised. According to the map, the two locations were in the same direction. However, the endless sea of flames was further north. Now, Lin Feng and the others only needed to determine their current location. Lin Feng took out his heart compass and used it to determine their location. He found that they needed to head north to reach their destination. In other words, the three of them were currently south of their destination. After determining their location, Lin Feng said, "Let's go. We'll head north." Lin Feng and the others set off at an extremely fast speed. Along the way, Lin Feng and the others saw many terrifying dead spirits appear in the ancient battlefield. These dead spirits were basically transformed from cultivators who had died in the ancient battlefield. Many cultivators were fighting with the dead spirits. Along the way, Lin Feng and the others were attacked by several waves of dead spirits. However, those dead spirits did not cause any harm to Lin Feng and the others. They were all cleaned up by Lin Feng and the others. Along the way, they arrived at the place Wu Shiren had mentioned. The place Wu Shiren was talking about was a huge mountain range. Moreover, it was a blood-colored mountain range. It was extremely strange. Where is the teleportation stone? Could it be under the mountain range? It doesn't seem like there's a spirit vein here. Lin Feng said, "Hee, we should know where the teleportation stone is after sensing it." Wu Shiren said with a smile. Then Wu Shiren took out a crystal, which was almost transparent. Lin Feng asked, "What is this?" "This is a crystal sensor that I invented myself. It can sense the location of the teleportation stone." Wu Shiren said proudly. "Damn, there's such a thing?" Tao Tai immediately revealed an expression of disbelief. Lin Feng was also extremely surprised. This was because the thing that Wu Shiren took out was too extraordinary. Hee, this thing took me a lot of effort to create," Wu Shiren said. Lin Feng asked, "Do you have any more? If there's more, I'll buy one from you. Name a price." "Don't. It's too hurtful for us to talk about money. I just happen to have one here, so I'll give it to you," Wu Shiren said, and then handed over the other crystal ball that he had modified to Lin Feng. Wu Xiaoran was researching the Qi Huang technique, and it seemed that he had really come up with something good. Lin Feng did not stand on ceremony with Wu Xiaoran and kept the item. Then, he walked towards the blood-colored mountain range with Wu Xiaoran and Tao Tai. Wu Xiaoran's attention was focused on searching for the teleportation stone. Lin Feng and Tao Tai were observing the blood-colored mountain range. To prevent danger from appearing, Lin Feng felt that this blood-colored mountain range was a little strange. However, Lin Feng was unable to discover what was strange about it. Finally, they stopped in a valley in the depths of the mountain range. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Lin Feng saw that the crystal ball in Wu Xiaoran's hand was actually emitting waves of violent fluctuations. Wu Xiaoran revealed a look of joy and said, "I've sensed it. It seems that the teleportation stone should be here." Boom! A loud sound was heard. Lin Feng and the others were startled when they heard that voice. They looked inside and saw that a large area of rock walls about 100 meters above the ground in the depths of the valley had collapsed. A pitch-black cave appeared in front of the three of them. Geniuses remember this site's address in a second. Chapter 54:83. When they saw the pitch-black cave that had suddenly appeared, Lin Feng and the others couldn't help but look at each other. Could it be that the teleportation stone was in that cave? If that was the case, then the teleportation stone shouldn't have been born in this mountain range. Or it was a certain expert who collected some teleportation stones. Later on, that expert died. In the end, the teleportation stone had been left in this place. Thinking about it, this was still possible. Besides that, there was something else worth thinking about. If there was a teleportation stone here, was there some kind of trap? But no matter what, Lin Feng wanted to go in and take a look. He needed the teleportation stone. He desperately wanted to go to the Supreme Divine Court to take a look. Everyone be careful. Lin Feng reminded them. Okay. Tao Tai and Wu Xiaoran nodded. They naturally had to be careful when entering such a place. Who knew if there were any terrifying dangers inside? Sometimes when they encountered some danger, they would be caught off guard by the danger. Even if they had some powerful techniques, they might die before they could use them. Lin Feng and the others entered the cave and carefully walked inside. The cave emitted a gloomy and terrifying aura. The deeper they went, the more obvious the aura became. Finally, they entered a huge cave abode. When they entered, the surrounding black fog rolled. Gloomy laughter came from the black fog. Black fog cultivator. Lin Feng was surprised. Although many living beings could appear together with the black fog, it was impossible for them to do so. However, the aura of the black fog cultivator was very special. Lin Feng clearly remembered what the aura of the black fog cultivator was like. He was sure that the existence hidden in the black fog was a creature of the black fog race. Keek keek, I didn't think that someone would recognize us before we even showed up. Strange laughter came. Then 5 cultivators walked out of the black fog. They were 5 black fog cultivators. They were so thin that only skin and bones were left. They must have been short of nutrients for too long. That was why they had become like this. No matter what, they are still from the Black Fog clan. Why are they so miserable? Lin Feng said sarcastically. The lips of the 5 cultivators from the Black Fog tribe twitched slightly. The leading cultivator from the Black Fog tribe said sinisterly, "Kid, you're about to die, and you still dare to mock us." Lin Feng sneered and asked, "Are you trapped here? But before we came in, we didn't sense any restrictive power." "It's a curse. We've been cursed. Once you leave this place, your soul will disperse. However, there is a way to break the curse. As long as each of us can eat the flesh of 100 cultivators, our curse will be broken. Right now, I only need 3 more people to complete the curse. Once I eat all of you, I'll capture a large number of cultivators and let them eat those cultivators. Then they'll be able to break free. The leader of the Black Fog tribe said, sinisterly. Wu Xiuren said with a gloomy expression, was the jade talisman I obtained earlier, which recorded that there was a teleportation stone here, also you're doing? The leader of the Black Fog tribe said, we were the ones who sent the jade talisman out, but there really is a teleportation stone here. We didn't lie to anyone. It's just that anyone who comes here to look for a teleportation stone ends up dead. As soon as he finished speaking, the 5 Black Fog tribe cultivators emitted extremely terrifying auras. When Lin Feng sensed their auras, his expression changed slightly. Are you Black Fog tribe cultivators who crossed an epoch and resolved the fall in your cultivation? Or are you Black Fog tribe cultivators born in this epoch? Lin Feng asked. The leader of the Black Fog tribe laughed strangely and said, of course we crossed an epoch and resolved the fall in our cultivation. How powerful were we, the 5 heroes of the Black Fog tribe, back then? However, we were schemed against by an ancient saint emperor of the human race, and were trapped here for countless years. We hate you. We hate the human race. Kid, when it's time for me to eat you, I'll start with you. The leader of the Black Fog tribe said bitterly. The 5 cultivators of the Black Fog clan threw themselves at Lin Feng and the 2 others. Wu Xiuren's expression was bitter. Although his cultivation wasn't bad, and he had a few hidden trump cards, he wasn't a match for these 5 Black Fog tribe cultivators. Wu Xiuren said, let's think of a way to escape. Lin Feng said, no need. He waved his hand. The Book of the Dead flew out. Lin Feng's divine will connected with the Book of the Dead. He summoned all 40 Sage Realm undead creatures from the inner world of the Book of the Dead. Roar. After Lin Feng summoned the 40 undead, they all roared and growled. Their auras were terrifying. What's going on? Wu Xiuren was dumbfounded. The 5 Black Fog tribe cultivators stopped in their tracks. They all stopped in their tracks. They were also dumbfounded. But soon, the 5 Black Fog tribe cultivators realized what was going on. They couldn't help but reveal a horrified expression on their faces. They were indeed very powerful. However, no matter how powerful they were, their blood chi had collapsed because they hadn't been able to absorb any nutrients for many years. Although they still had their strength, their combat strength had declined greatly due to the collapse of their blood chi. If they were facing 7 or 8 undead, it wouldn't be a problem. However, 40 undead were too many. The 5 Black Fog tribe cultivators quickly retreated, but the cave was only so big. There was nowhere to run. Kill them, Lin Feng ordered, and the 40 undead charged towards the 5 Black Fog tribe cultivators. You're bullying us with numbers. This isn't fair. One of the Black Fog tribe cultivators shouted. This world has always been unfair. Lin Feng said, I want to fight you one-on-one. Do you dare? If I win, you'll spare my life. Another cultivator from the Black Fog tribe shouted. Lin Feng said, I don't like to fight one-on-one. I prefer to beat people up as a group. You don't even dare to fight one-on-one? You're a coward. The Black Fog tribe cultivator said angrily. Lin Feng said, Coward? I can lead a group of subordinates to beat you up. Why would I fight you one-on-one? If I agreed, wouldn't I be an idiot? The group of undead launched a powerful attack. The 5 Black Fog tribe cultivators were quickly suppressed by the undead. Lin Feng had deliberately ordered this. Lin Feng didn't want the Black Fog tribe cultivators to die too quickly. Lin Feng also wanted to search their souls to see if he could find any useful information. Genius 1 second, remember this site address. Mobile version reading website. Chapter 5484. Let us go. Let us go. We can't accept this. The 5 cultivators from the Black Fog tribe roared angrily. They kept struggling, but no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't break free. Now, the 5 of them had become prisoners, which made them very angry. If they had been defeated fair and square, they wouldn't have anything to say. However, they had been attacked by a group of Sage Realm undead creatures. Many of their powerful techniques had been suppressed before they had a chance to use them. It was too humiliating. When had they ever been so humiliated in their lives? The 5 cultivators from the Black Fog tribe couldn't accept this at all. You are all creatures who have transcended epochs, yet you have the nerve to say such words. This world is very cruel. Everyone will only remember the victors. No one will remember the losers. What's the use of being unconvinced? You are just a group of losers. You are destined to be forgotten by history. Lin Feng looked at the 5 cultivators mockingly. Brat, you will die a horrible death. One of the cultivators from the Black Fog tribe cursed loudly. Pooh! Lin Feng waved his hand and beheaded the cultivator. Then, Lin Feng took the cultivator's soul. He took out the heavenly fire. The blazing heavenly fire enveloped the soul of the Black Fog tribe cultivator. Ah! The soul of the Black Fog tribe cultivator immediately let out an incomparably shrill scream. His screams were even more ear-piercing and unpleasant than the cries of malicious ghosts. Kill me! Hurry up and kill me! The soul of the Black Fog tribe cultivator begged loudly. He had even experienced something like crossing epochs. He had seen too many storms and waves. However, at this moment, he was frightened by Lin Feng. In his eyes, Lin Feng wasn't a young human cultivator at all. He was a demon. Kill you? That's too easy for you. I want you to live a life worse than death. Lin Feng laughed coldly. Then he put the heavenly fire wrapped around the cultivator's soul into the 4 ferocious cauldron. The show had just begun. We're willing to submit. As long as you don't kill us, we'll submit. The leader of the Black Fog tribe looked at Lin Feng in horror. Under the eaves, one had no choice but to lower one's head. Moreover, they were now Lin Feng's prisoners. Were they alive or dead? It was all up to Lin Feng. They wanted to live. They didn't want to die. Who would want to die if they could live? In front of dignity and life. They chose life. Answer whatever I ask, said Lin Feng. Lin Feng said, We'll only tell you if you spare our lives. Otherwise, we won't say anything. A cultivator from the Black Fog tribe said. Lin Feng sneered and used a soul-searching technique on the Black Fog cultivator. However, Lin Feng soon stopped. Restriction. He found a very well-hidden restriction in the Black Fog tribe cultivator's mind. That was why Lin Feng stopped in time. If he used a soul-searching technique on the Black Fog tribe cultivator, he might activate the restriction in the depths of his mind. At that time, his soul would immediately shatter and he would die. This wasn't something Lin Feng wanted to see. However, Lin Feng didn't plan on letting him go. Lin Feng smashed the cultivator's head with his palm. Then he imprisoned his soul. Heavenly fire appeared. It wrapped around his soul. Ah! The soul of the Black Fog tribe cultivator also let out an incomparably shrill cry of agony. Torture of the soul was the most terrible torture. It was 100 times more painful than physical torture. Heavenly fire burning the soul is worse than death. Do you want to have a taste of this? Lin Feng looked at the last 3 Black Fog tribe cultivators. They quickly shook their heads. Remember my words. You don't have the right to negotiate with me. So, you have to answer whatever I ask. Lin Feng said coldly, Yes, yes, yes. The 3 Black Fog tribe cultivators quickly said, where is the Black Fog Tribe's headquarters? Lin Feng asked. The Xianhuang Chaotic World. The leader of the Black Fog Tribe cultivators said. Lin Feng was surprised. The Undying Tribe's headquarters was in the Xianhuang Chaotic World. The Black Fog Tribe's headquarters was also in the Xianhuang Chaotic World. Did that mean that the Black Robe Tribe or some other top Lost Epics tribes had their headquarters in the Xianhuang Chaotic World? Is the Nine Heavens God burying coffin the Black Fog Tribe's ultimate treasure? Lin Feng asked. Lin Feng had found out some information about his mother. His mother, Ji Long, had been suppressed by the Nine Heavens God burying coffin in the depths of the Starry Sky world. Lin Feng had heard that the Black Fog Tribe cultivators were the ones who had taken action back then. However, it seemed that some Black Robe Tribe cultivators had also participated. However, there seemed to be people from the Black Hand world behind the scenes. Lin Feng wanted to confirm the information about the Nine Heavens God burying coffin. It belongs to our tribe. It's in the God burying starfield. The Black Fog Tribe cultivator on the left said, the God burying starfield? It's such an important ultimate treasure. Didn't your Black Fog Tribe bring it to your ancestral land? Lin Feng asked, puzzled. We couldn't bring it there. The Black Fog Tribe cultivator on the right said, the Nine Heavens God burying coffin is our tribe's ultimate treasure, but it wasn't created by us. It's a treasure we obtained by chance. The Nine Heavens God burying coffin has been in the depths of that star since the beginning of this epoch. Our tribe tried to take it away, but we failed every time. In the end, we gave up. Later on, we sealed some important criminals in the Nine Heavens God burying coffin. Oh, sealed in the Nine Heavens God burying coffin? Is there something special about the inside of the Nine Heavens God burying coffin? Asked Lin Feng. Lin Feng couldn't help but ask. The inside of the Nine Heavens God burying coffin is very special. It's a world of its own. It's extremely dangerous. The reason why we sealed some important criminals in the Nine Heavens God burying coffin is to lure their clansmen to save them. No matter how strong they are, they'll die without a doubt. In the past, some cultivators who surpassed the Saint Realm entered the Nine Heavens God burying coffin to save people, but they all died in the end. The leader of the Black Fog Tribe said. What? Lin Feng was shocked. His face turned ugly. The Nine Heavens God burying coffin was a huge trap that had buried countless strong cultivators. Going to save people was like walking into a trap. Had his father reached the Nine Heavens God burying coffin? If his father had already reached the Nine Heavens God burying coffin and tried to save his mother, did that mean that his father would also be in danger? Thinking about that, Lin Feng's face turned even uglier. How do I get to the God burying starfield? Lin Feng asked gloomily. Genius 1 second, remember this site address. Mobile version reading website. Chapter 5485. In QQ Reading, this speed can be ranked in the top 3. Previously, when we updated 7 times a day, we were ranked first. Now, I'm sure everyone knows the reason why we update 5 times a day. Firstly, in the later stages of the book, there are too many holes to fill in, so we need to think and fill in the holes. If we write too quickly, we might ruin the most important part of the content at the back. Secondly, in order to survive, Old Manta started a new book. Every morning, he would wake up at 7 a.m. and write until 11 p.m. or even early in the morning. He would overwork for more than 10 hours a day. It was all for the sake of earning more money for milk powder for his children. As a first-time father, he had to spend money everywhere. The pressure was too great. Brothers, everyone, please move your fingers and bookmark Devouring the Heavens on QQ Reading or your phone's QQ Reading Center. Old Manta begs everyone. I've already updated 3 chapters today. There are still 2 more chapters. I'll write them now and post them together. Once again, I beg everyone to bookmark Old Mantu's new book, Devouring the Heavens. Chapter 5486. If he could find the buried gods, Starfield, he would be able to find the place where his mother was sealed. Lin Feng really wanted to know the ancient star map to the buried gods, Starfield. The leader of the Black Fog race said, "Which world are you in?" "The undying world," Lin Feng said. The leader of the Black Fog race smiled bitterly and said, "We only know the ancient star map from the chaos Xianhuang world to the buried gods, Starfield. We don't know the route from the undying world to the buried gods, Starfield." Hearing this, Lin Feng couldn't help but frown slightly. "Are you lying to me?" Lin Feng asked coldly. "Of course not. We wouldn't dare lie to you," the leader of the Black Fog race quickly said. Actually, Lin Feng felt that the leader of the Black Fog race wasn't lying. The situation, it should be as he said. He really didn't know the exact route. This was troublesome. Maybe he could go to the undying world to find out. "Tell me the ancient star map from the chaos Xianhuang world to the buried gods, Starfield," Lin Feng said. How could the leader of the Black Fog race dare to go against Lin Feng? Just as he was about to tell Lin Feng, but at that moment, a ball of black fog floated out of the head of the Black Fog race cultivator. The ball of black fog turned into an existence shrouded in darkness. Sir, when they saw the existence, the 3 Black Fog race cultivators cried out in fear. "You said something you shouldn't have." The existence in the darkness said coldly, "Sir, we had no choice. Please spare our lives." The leader of the Black Fog race begged, "It's useless. You deserve to die." The existence in darkness said coldly. The next moment, something terrible happened. The bodies of the 3 Black Fog race cultivators instantly dried up. In the blink of an eye, they turned into dried corpses. Strange. It was really too strange. As for the existence shrouded in darkness, it grew flesh and blood. After seeing this, Lin Feng's expression couldn't help but become serious. This existence seemed to be just a strand of divine will. Unexpectedly, did it instantly devour the flesh and blood of 3 Black Fog tribe cultivators and create a new body? This kind of method was truly terrifying enough. "Who are you?" Lin Feng asked. "I am one of the 36 protectors of the Black Fog clan, Protector Tian Shui." The existence shrouded in darkness said, "Sky Extermination Protector? I've never heard of it. Is it very famous?" Lin Feng curled his lips and said, hearing Lin Feng's mocking voice, the Sky Extermination Protector's face immediately became extremely gloomy. He said coldly, "Brat, if you haven't heard of me, that's because you're ignorant. Let me tell you, I'm an existence that transcends 2 epochs." Hearing this, the expressions of Lin Feng and the others changed slightly. Generally speaking, those cultivators who had crossed an epoch were basically Sage Realm cultivators. Moreover, it was very likely that they were high-level Sage Realm cultivators. What was the cultivation level of crossing 2 epochs? Was it an existence that had surpassed the Saint Realm? It was really possible. What was the realm beyond the Sage Realm? Lin Feng really didn't know, because, in theory, the Sage Realm was the peak of a cultivator's cultivation level. Of course, there were some heaven-defying cultivators who managed to surpass it. In the end, they stepped into a new world of cultivation. That was the existence beyond the Sage Realm. Now you know how strong I am. The Sky Extermination Protector naturally saw the changes in the expressions of Lin Feng and the others. He couldn't help but feel somewhat proud. Strong, indeed, but so what? No matter how strong you are, you can't show yourself now. Right now, you're not in your true body. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Said Lin Feng with a cold smile. Little boy, I've swallowed the flesh and blood of the three traitors to create this body. Even though this body can't last for a long time, it's enough to kill you in a short period of time. After saying that, the Sky Extermination Protector directly charged towards Lin Feng. Get rid of this guy. Lin Feng waved his hand and gave an order to the 40 undead creatures of the Sage Realm. After receiving Lin Feng's order, the 40 undead creatures of the Sage Realm quickly charged towards the Sky Extermination Protector. Bang, 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 bang. Along with the violent collision sounds, the undead creatures were sent flying by the Sky Extermination Protector. These undead creatures couldn't stop the Sky Extermination Protector. After seeing this scene, Lin Feng's face couldn't help but sink slightly. Isn't the Sky Extermination Protector too strong? He's simply invincible. Ha ha ha, brat, did you see that? Although your undead slaves are strong, if I want to kill you, they can't stop me at all. The Sky Extermination Protector laughed proudly. He was getting closer and closer to Lin Feng. He couldn't continue like that because the Tianja Demapolis was too strong. If he was attacked, it would really be a dead end. Now, he had to find a way to solve the current situation. However, how to solve it? Suddenly, Lin Feng's eyes suddenly lit up. Lin Feng discovered something. The Sky Extermination Protector was condensed from flesh and blood essence. This was not a real body of flesh and blood. It wasn't as strong as a body of flesh and blood. If this body was broken, it might be able to cause a devastating blow to the Sky Extermination Protector. Lin Feng felt that this should be a way to try. Thinking of this, Lin Feng decided to give it a try. He began to operate the curse technique. Lin Feng's curse technique, with the help of the curse mudman, had actually increased the success rate by a large margin. After Lin Feng activated it 3 times in a row, the curse technique finally hurt the complacent Sky Extermination Protector. Puff! The sound of a body being pierced through was heard. A bloody hole appeared on the Sky Extermination Protector's chest. Blood immediately gushed out. Feeling the pain in his chest, the Sky Extermination Protector lowered his head and looked at his chest. When he saw the bloody hole, the Sky Extermination Protector couldn't help but roar unwillingly. Damn it, how could this be? His body began to dismember. Lin Feng took a deep breath. Just as he had guessed, he had managed to injure the physical body. The Sky Extermination Protector was finished. Now, he was finally out of danger. Brat, I will remember you. I will definitely kill you with my own hands. The Sky Extermination Protector coldly looked at Lin Feng, his eyes flashing with killing intent. Lin Feng sneered and said, Sky Extermination Protector, remember this. I will not only kill you, but I will also destroy your Black Fog clan. In your dreams, the Sky Extermination Protector looked at Lin Feng with a mocking gaze. He was full of disdain for Lin Feng's words. In the next moment, his body completely disintegrated. Lin Feng sneered and said, Sky Extermination Protector, let's wait and see. Please remember the domain name of this book, mobile version of reading website. Chapter 5487. The Taotai said, little Lin, what I admire most about you is your confidence. In the future, when you go to destroy the Black Fog tribe, you must take me with you. Lin Feng said, Of course, that's not a problem. The Black Fog tribe has existed for many epochs without being destroyed. You can imagine how many treasures they've collected. After we destroy them, we can plunder as many treasures as we want. The Taotia's eyes suddenly lit up. That's great. Now that you mention it, I can't wait to destroy the Black Fog tribe. Wu Xiaoran couldn't help but smile bitterly. The Black Fog tribe was a terrifying tribe, Lin Feng, and the Taotai didn't care about the Black Fog tribe at all. They even talked about plundering the Black Fog tribe's treasures. The hole in their heads was really big. Lin Feng sent all the undead into the world of the Book of the Dead. Then, they looked at the palms of the dead Black Fog tribe cultivators. They all had storage rings. Lin Feng took their storage rings. There were a total of 5 storage rings. He wondered what was inside. He used his divine will to investigate. There were quite a lot of good things. There were 3 sacred artifacts. There were more than 20 immortal artifacts, as well as various other treasures. However, there were no natural treasures or immortal stones. After all, these guys had been trapped here for a long time. They had already eaten everything that could replenish their energy. Lin Feng found a total of 15 teleportation stones in the mountain of various items. Everything. Lin Feng divided them into 3. However, the Taotai only took 1 sacred artifact. The rest were given to Lin Feng. That meant that Lin Feng already had 12 teleportation stones. Because of Lin Feng, the Taotai and Wu Xuren were together. If Wu Xuren's 5 teleportation stones were included, they had a total of 17 teleportation stones. I wonder how many teleportation stones are needed to construct a teleportation array. Lin Feng couldn't help but frown slightly. Wu Xuren replied, I know of 2 teleportation channels. The first requires 49 teleportation channels, and the second requires 64 teleportation channels. Large-scale teleportation portals require even more. I don't know how to set them up, but if you want to teleport the 3 of us, this kind of small teleportation portal is very suitable. But I don't recommend using 49 teleportation stones because 9 is an unknown number, especially if we want to go to the godly court. We have to avoid 9. If we get unlucky because of this, we won't be able to cry even if we want to. I'm more inclined to use 64 teleportation stones to set up a teleportation formation. The reason I'm inclined to do so is because the word 64 is extraordinary. It contains the image of the 8 trigrams, and it will definitely protect us. Hearing Wu Xuren's words, Lin Feng could not help secretly admiring him. Wu Xuren knew a lot of things, and what he said was very reasonable. Lin Feng agreed with his words. Lin Feng said, let's set up the teleportation channel that Brother Wu mentioned, which costs 64 teleportation stones. We still lack a lot of teleportation stones. Wu Xuren frowned slightly. Tao Tai nodded and said, teleportation stones are very difficult to find. I don't know where we can find them. It doesn't matter. We can rob them. Maybe many people don't have them, but if we rob enough people, someone will definitely have a teleportation stone. Lin Feng smiled like a demon. Rob them? Tao Tai and Wu Xuren both had dumbfounded expressions on their faces. Lin Feng's way of thinking, it really wasn't something that ordinary people could guess. Wu Xuren said, those who can come here must have a great power behind them. If we really rob them, I'm afraid we'll incur their wrath. You can imagine how terrible the consequences will be. Wu Xuren couldn't help but shiver when he thought of that. Lin Feng said, let's go to a different place. After we're done, we'll go to the godly court, obtain an opportunity, and then run away. Of course, if Brother Wu doesn't want to leave this world, you can pretend you didn't hear me. Wu Xuren thought for a moment, then gritted his teeth and said, there's nothing to miss in this world. If we can enter the godly court, it'll be the greatest opportunity in life. Okay, let's go rob the cultivators of those great powers. After reaching an agreement, the 3 of them couldn't help but laugh. Before they went to carry out the robbery plan, Lin Feng decided to go to the endless sea of flames to find the heavenly flames hidden there. Refining the heavenly flames. The benefits were endless. Lin Feng couldn't wait to refine the heavenly flames in the endless sea of flames, although he still didn't know what kind of heavenly flame it was. Lin Feng and the other two arrived at the periphery of the endless sea of flames. The endless sea of flames. As far as the eye could see, it was completely covered by the flames. After arriving, Lin Feng didn't rashly enter. He tried to use his own heavenly flames to sense where the heavenly flames were hidden in the endless sea of flames. However, after sensing for a while, he didn't find anything. Lin Feng couldn't help but frown. Could it be the heavenly flames in the endless sea of flames? Was there a heavenly flame spirit? If there was a heavenly flame spirit, it would be extremely terrifying. If that was the case, it would be troublesome. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. At that moment, many cultivators flew over from afar. We're here. This is the endless sea of flames. I wonder what's going on inside. Let's go and take a look. The cultivators whispered a few times, then flew into the endless sea of flames. As soon as they flew into the endless sea of flames, many more people flew over. Those cultivators also flew into the endless sea of flames. Did the news about the heavenly flames leak out? Otherwise, why would so many people come? The Taotai asked, puzzled. That Lin Feng couldn't help but frown slightly. He looked into the distance and immediately discovered that there were still many cultivators arriving one after another. Lin Feng decided to find someone to ask what was going on. He didn't think the news about the heavenly flames had leaked out. After all, only the three of them should know about the heavenly flames. Of course, he couldn't rule out the possibility that someone had entered the endless sea of flames and seen the heavenly flames and spread the news. Lin Feng stopped a cultivator and asked. After a while, he received a shocking piece of news. The first fire god, Zhu Rong, he died in the endless sea of flames. So many cultivators had arrived. They were all here to find the fire god Zhu Rong's legacy. Please remember the domain name of this book, mobile version of reading website.